count.
Yeah, sure.
We started recording. All right.
I'm a dog. I'm biting the fart bubbles in the back.
Welcome to.
Look, we're allowed to have a little bit of fun here, although, frankly, due to changes that are going to be explained essentially immediately, maybe some more professionalism is in order. Maybe.
It's what we're known for.
No, it's not.
Our professionalism.
We're known for your audio being really, like, fluctuating.
Yeah.
Where it's almost like sometimes it's like you fade in to talking. It's like you start talking, but you didn't quite catch the beginning. It happens a lot.
I think I know what it is. I will try and remedy it. My theory is you're coming out of my laptop.
Am I?
And it is then basically muting you because it doesn't want to pick you up. And in that time, it's probably struggling with the audio.
Can we not have sounds of you opening a pencil case, please?
That's where I store my earphones and my all my life savings and documents.
You store your documents in a pencil case.
That's the rough gist of it, yeah. This should work. I'm now got my earphones in, so you're coming straight into my ears, which is a bit weird. Don't be doing that.
Coming in your ear.
Yeah, but hopefully it should be fine then. Is the theory. Otherwise, I get involved, and that's the whole thing.
Bang goes the theory, which I believe was like a show that was like Brainiac. Do you remember Brainiac?
I don't have any idea what you're talking about. I've never heard of either thing.
You know, Brainiac, like the science show.
Why would I watch?
Where they did like no, but it was like science for like man children though.
I knew Nina and the Neurons, and that was it.
That's not a science show. That's just Nina and the Neurons.
But it's about your senses.
Yeah, but it was fictional. No, because Brainiac was still a real thing. It was like still meant to teach people stuff, and they like did actual experiments, like blowing up, basically finding any excuse to blow things up that they could. That was basically the entire point.
I think they played some clips of it during science. If it was just the blowing up thing, I remember then when we were learning about the unstable. Whatever they are, like the things that are like one trip away from detonating. When we learnt about them, I think there was a clip of something where they put it in a bathtub and detonated it.
So I'm just watching an actual crackhead walk up my road. Like, seriously, this guy.
And now he's gonna start
actually emaciated. No, he's gone. He's like out of view now.
Sprinting towards you.
No, but Brainiac was like it's. Not exactly, but it's almost like the horrible histories of science, TV-wise, because obviously horrible science is a thing, but they didn't make that show. And if they did, it probably would have been great, actually.
They've managed to fuck up horrible histories recently, so...
Yeah, recently, but that's because it was, well, not even just the cast necessarily, but that's like... I just assumed it was a complete change of the guard, really. Must have been.
Yeah.
Like, everyone involved. And that's not the show's fault. Horrible Histories is still a paragon of entertainment and factual accuracy.
Yeah.
Much like us.
I hope that we ride at least halfway at both of those.
Yeah, so I feel like a lot of our opinions sometimes stray from factual accuracy. Perhaps.
Yeah, which I think, considering it's an opinion... and I've been learning about this recently, opinions aren't facts. So if our opinions were facts, then they wouldn't be our opinions, they would be facts. So
no, but your opinions can align with facts, can they?
But then it wouldn't be an opinion, it would be a fact.
So opinions are inherently lies?
No, they're inherently not facts.
They're not tied to the truth either way.
Well, I think the solution here is moving on and not questioning the language that we speak. I think that's the best solution. And I think officially starting the podcast might also be a good shout.
Hello, welcome to the Barrel Vision Podcast, your number one stop for all things Deep Rock Galactic related, and that will be more so the case from now on. Actually.
Yeah.
Basically, we're gonna do half as much. No. Well,
technically, I'm gonna do half as much, and you're gonna do a third as much.
But it's gonna be twice as good.
Is the hope?
Okay, yeah. It's no. Hope.
Yeah.
I can't say plan. I don't think we can really plan for that. Basically, what we're doing is melding the other shit. So think of all the videos that used to come out on Saturdays, all the miscellaneous stuff, whatever they were, tier lists, dev Q&A, all that shit, melding that into the same day as the podcast, which is going to be this day, Saturday. So it's been a weird, past 2 weeks in terms of shuffling things around, because it started with, let's just flip the two, because first of all, for the podcast, that was pretty obvious once we realised it, that Saturday was just a far, far better day. But then I had another realisation. This is getting difficult. In the capacity of doing one of each every single week, because we actually quite a while ago, and quite a while ago, sort of introduced this conceit that the podcast didn't have to be Deep Rock related every week. Every other week could be something else if need be, but it didn't really even feel like we were actually taking advantage of that. And then also the miscellaneous videos were starting to become more forced in the sense that they became less valuable to us, I think. When it's sort of you're trying much harder, you're getting to the point where, even though I can't say we're not really running out of ideas, but we're also, we are, basically.
I think we were just running through the motions more than doing it.
We were running through ideas in a way that wasn't valuable. We were just sort of cleaving through them, and it was we weren't really choosing them as much. And also the podcast was, I'd say I can't tell which one was really the more pivotal one for this. I can't tell personally, but I think it's probably going to benefit the podcast more. Actually, I can say that because the podcast, this allows it to be, doing the podcast every other week definitively now allows it to be a Deep Rock focused podcast without having to do it too often. What that means is there's going to more reliably be stuff to talk about in Deep Rock, especially around this time of year, and we'll get into that. So it's going to be that. It also means that topic episodes, like the classic topic episodes, hopefully will become more attractive. Like we mentioned, like season retrospectives, something we're probably going to do. And also it allows us to use you more. Yes, you, the viewer. Incorporating an actual comments segment, which is going to be very short today. In fact, this episode could end up being fairly short. But hopefully, despite that, it's still going to be relatively representative of things going forward. Tighter, cleaner, more life.
Yeah. Hopefully. Well, and I think I'm also thinking, as far as podcasts go, ours are actually kind of short, generally. At least have been recently, right? We have not had a podcast that goes much longer than an hour and a half, if that.
Yeah, well, the last one was 2 hours 20, though. The last... Wait. Well, the Starfield one was, but I'm actually thinking of the one before that. All right, hold on. Give me a moment in case some audio crops up that shouldn't. Okay, don't worry. Yeah, I just wanted to look at the most recent Deep Rock podcast, which was 2 hours.
All right.
That's fine. I would say, though, in regards to timing, I don't... Well, first of all, actually, there's no real first of all. I don't know if there should be a limit or not, or a minimum or not. In my opinion, the only minimum should probably be an hour. It should probably be at least an hour, but if that's all we need, then that's also fine. Which obviously that sounds like, less content. No one's going to be saying that though. So then, frankly, them being tighter and less fluff is going to be much more than a good thing. It's going to be a great thing, hopefully. And in terms of a limit, well, I don't think there should be a limit necessarily.
Well, I think now they're on Saturdays. I don't know. Saturdays feels like more of a free day, even though it's just the same as every other day, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, there was almost something about sort of doing a podcast every week, and somehow it would always end up spiraling as well. That was like, even though it was spontaneous, it was still kind of draining, you know?
Yeah.
Which is really bizarre. And I think we're going to I think we're going to avoid that from now on. Anyway, now that all that's out of the way and everyone's done crying, we can actually get into the juice.
We actually say what the change was.
Yeah.
Basically, podcast every other week, and in those between weeks would be whatever miscellaneous video we would do, tier lists or Q&As. That's it.
Yeah, that's wow. That's incredible.
Plus, the stream might be moved from Friday to Monday.
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't bring that up because I kind of wanted to say what we knew was going to change for sure. Yeah. Oh well. Anyway, so yeah, we just kind of need to run through all the stuff that we haven't really talked about yet on the podcast. And run through is probably going to be the operative term because the first topic is Oktoberfest. Tyler. Oktoberfest.
Yay.
For no other reason. Well, I mean, obviously this one, the only import that this one had was being the, aside from what was revealed to us closer to the time of it actually happening, was the fact that this Oktoberfest marked basically the cycle repeating, or the start of the cycle repeating of these double performance point events being introduced. And I'm more comfortable calling them events after I sort of internalised the fact that when you find the item in question, if it's a stationary item, that is, it always spawns an ambush or a pressure wave. I don't think it's a pressure wave in this case. It might just be an ambush. I'm not sure if those are even different things. They're probably not. And obviously, so yeah. The other ones, like the elf, for example, I don't think spawned enemies when you found it. But this one
it's
does.
Like a holy hoarder. It's just as much as an event as that really is.
Hold on, was there actually another one that you actually had to? Oh yeah, the bunny. Right, I was actually thinking because I was thinking, are there actually more? Was there any others apart from the elf that actually did something?
We haven't. There is another one, but we haven't got it yet.
No.
We still got the Halloween one to look forward to.
Yeah, the flying flaming skull. That should also just be a headgear. But we know it's a clown mask.
Well, there could be two, unless they're toning down all of them.
I would rather they did, especially after what we learned recently. I think do you know what I'm talking about there?
Not really, no.
You will be reminded, don't worry.
Cool.
Oh yeah, so obviously it marked the that coming back around, and obviously biggest positive there is it's just gonna be the same. And I'm saying that more so questioning that being the biggest positive, because I think we were pretty agreed upon that ideally, and very much so hopefully, that it was just going to use the same stuff every time now. For the double performance point stuff. So this case is just the Oktoberfest, the best worst beer mug again, and it's just like, and it just further and further playing into the gag. And I think that's still at least a neutral to good thing. Not over the moon about it, but it's probably how it should be. Just the fact that it's the same thing, because that's kind of what we said it should have been anyway. We were sort of really doubtful that they would actually reuse the things in that way, even though we thought it was obvious that they should.
It was very applicable. Like they wouldn't have had to change things for the Christmas one. They wouldn't have had to change things for the Halloween one. But the Oktoberfest celebration implied like this is a sausage special, right? This is like an Oktoberfest sausage themed. And so I thought, right, like going forward, would they keep up the theme, like, or is they going to have to change themes and change the decorations? But it seems like they just kept the decorations. They kept even the sausage theme with the hat, obviously.
Well,
And yeah,
Oktoberfest is arguably a sausage themed holiday. I mean,
yeah,
Oktoberfest is in the real world is completely themed around the food that it is. It's beer, sausages, and pretzels. So it's always going to be that. Where's the pretzel hat though? Hey,
it's
pretzel
probably
hat.
next year or something.
But well, yeah. I mean, I guess because you just said something about they might be scaling back the number of headgear. Because if
Yeah,
you go back
well,
to the last Oktoberfest, that was 2, and now it's down to 1. So a big change there. Big change there.
yeah, but ultimately, the work put into it is probably an increase, right?
Increase.
Because yeah, I don't. I would be surprised to if this is true that making a helmet takes the same, if not more, time than than doing a armor set. And now you would say like it would be different for all of them, but I really wouldn't say that. Like they had to make the one armor set for one of them, and then just change the colors for the rest. I assume most of the time was spent on just making it once, right?
Yeah. In this case, so yeah, obviously that was the big reveal. I mean, I still remember them posting the premiere for the Oktoberfest trailer, and I immediately thought that's suspicious. Why are they doing a trailer for Oktoberfest? Because I thought back to, or I even looked back over everything that I could, mainly just the Ghost Ship Games YouTube channel. That was the main way I sort of confirmed this. In that's not a thing. Trailers for these events is not a thing. Except there was obviously one for Christmas last year, but it was but then it was like, oh right, that was for the elf costumes, so basically. But what it wasn't like posted as like this is the Christmas trailer. It was like a different thing. It was like this is like a Christmas present, like to be opened on this day, which obviously is like silly.
Get straight off, mate.
But I beg your pardon. Obviously, fuck. Okay, so what I was saying was about the trailer. That the Christmas one was obviously framed differently, even though it was kind of just being silly. But the fact that the Oktoberfest one wasn't and was just framed as if it's the Oktoberfest trailer sort of made me a little bit suspicious. But obviously it rolled around and it was just another outfit or outfits for Oktoberfest this time around, which was a pleasant surprise actually, because when they posted when they posted that premiere for Oktoberfest trailer, I was just like, oh god, what? Like, why would there be a trailer for this? You know, why do they need a trailer for this? What have they done? And it was still significant, but not not.
I think
not too much either. I don't think.
the thing that we kind of hoped they would, because I think we all agree they went too far last Christmas, and we all being you and me and Ghost Ship, I think they knew.
Yeah, you and me, us and Ghost Ship. No one else. No one else.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure.
It was just us and the
else.
people who make the game, because, as will be revealed later on, we're more on their wavelength than people think.
Yeah, but but this season kind of proved that. Yeah, because obviously they could have gone as far as last Christmas, right? They could have made a sausage pickaxe and a I don't know what the uniforms are, but the Bosco put in whatever the things are.
Lederhosen.
Yeah, they could have done all that like they did at Christmas, but they didn't.
By the way, I want a sausage pickaxe next time.
Yeah, well, because that's what I think they should kind of do, is now just retroactively, like, kind of give every holiday that amount of stuff. Like, I do think that end goal, what Christmas had that one season, would be really good. But they did it all in one season, which was unnecessary.
Yeah, when it was like literally 3 separate things. Like, so are we getting at that what it should be is headgear plus 1 or headgear plus costume level, right? Because you could argue that together, like on their own, the pickaxe or the Bosco framework don't match the armors, maybe. So would you need possibly put the two together, especially Bosco? Like that's because that's like literally limited to solo players as well. It's like an
And
item.
when they just showed them it was Bosco and pickaxes at the same time, they do seem to value them at about the same amount. And I think that would be reasonable. Like those, because it would look then like 3, but you could easily throw in the Bosco.
Like I want Halloween
pickaxe.
Bosco.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is, I think going forward, if they're going to start continuing to do that, because I mean we've got the Halloween hat leaked, but we've only seen one Halloween hat leaked. So either there isn't another hat to leak, or there's a uniform that they haven't leaked yet, like stuff like that. Well, let's say they haven't leaked. Whoever is diving in.
Well, but then
getting all
I
this
think we
done.
did like at one point even like say something specifically about, because I prefer to call them costumes and armor sets. I know they are in that slot, but I mean I think costumes is a more appropriate label. It like you can still you can still know that they go in the armor slot, but I think I think they should be distinguished for multiple reasons. Reason number one, they're just not armor. Reason number two, can't put paint jobs on them. But another thing, I do believe that we said something about should they do more than one costume per year? Should that be like one event gets that per year kind of thing?
Yeah,
I don't know.
because I think the long term nature of the game needs to kind of be considered, in that they can't keep raising the stakes, or they'll explode.
I know,
right?
but also drip feeding is something that they just don't actually really do. Like that's like how they save everything up and blow their load all at once. That's kind of just how they operate. So I mean, forgive me for the weird euphemism, but that is kind of their update model. And it arguably didn't. Well, it always has been, but it was arguably they were never drip feeding. As in, they would never do one thing at a time. It was never like it was never release one thing. But yeah, it's just become more bundle as much as we can into one.
But I mean, because that's why I don't know. It's why even though this one is significant because it's our first loop round, I think really we're going to be looking forward to the Christmas one, because that will be a pretty big solution, because there really shouldn't be anywhere they can go upwards for Christmas. Like they would kind of have to bring it back down
because
to 2 hats.
That time should be, even if season 5 is in January, that should still be in very close proximity to season 5's release. Even if it's forwards or backwards, like even if it's in December, even if season 5 drops before the actual Christmas event, or if it drops after, it's still going to be. It should be very close either way. It's
going to be pretty interesting how, with the way things are looking now, which obviously might change soon. We'll to that later. We could be looking at teaser season during Christmas, which I think would be a very interesting time.
They'd play that up, wouldn't they, in some way?
Yeah, probably. It depends when Christmas falls. I'm gonna quickly look at the calendar.
When's Christmas? Yeah, let's have a look.
25th is, I think, Sunday or Monday. No, Monday. That's how the calendar works. So they wouldn't be teasing on Christmas Day.
Well, no, I mean they wouldn't be there on Christmas. They wouldn't be doing it. They wouldn't be working on Christmas Day. Fucking hell.
That's true, actually. I didn't think of that. But yeah, maybe before that. But the point is, I don't know. That would be kind of about the time. Like, it's always like this next thing, and we'll finally know. But it really should be that, like, this Oktoberfest has taught us a lot. That they seem to like the costume idea, and we're probably going to get more than that at some point. October will kind of reveal if we're going to get like one for all of them, like for like the next year, right? If we get another uniform, or if we don't get the uniform, then we'll know we'll probably get the uniforms here and there, and then it'll be the first October since the first Christmas, not Jesus Christ, first Halloween since the upgrades, and then the Christmas will be like, are they going to tone it down, like back up a little bit? Maybe they'll add another costume, right? Like they'll add another one, but it's like a different one. but it's just a costume. That's possible.
I mean, I know what I want. I want fucking, and I don't even care if they made it DLC. It's like the ice pick in armor form. That's what I want. Especially because of their obsession with making these like forced colors. Because I know that like it would be very difficult to change the color of the ice, but you could still have it be like. Obviously, the only way that I can imagine that is either it's like stupid, where it's literally just the dwarves just encased in ice. Which, first of all, I don't think that's a terrible idea.
I think a good headgear would be that. Just have a head stuck in an ice cube.
Skin color, ice.
Yeah,
yeah,
that would be solid.
That would be.
Think of it.
It would be solid, wouldn't it? It would be solid.
Yeah.
Well,
if they remember that skin color exists,
they don't need to think of it. I just thought of it for them.
Yeah, and we can only hope they see this.
Yeah. Anyway, so the last thing I think we should touch on, in regards to this, is just the outfit itself. First of all, we get to see the dwarf's legs.
Yeah.
Which is not. Well, I mean, it's almost the most significant thing about them.
I think that's interesting for them because, like, that's probably a bit of a moment where they didn't realise they'd never done their legs before until they had to do it, and then they realised, oh shit, we can't just. There isn't one where we could just take it. Right?
Surely that was already modelled.
You think they have a naked dwarf model?
Yeah.
Actually, they would have because they have done their legs.
Of course they. Oh fucking hell!
Yeah, the fucking gown, the medical gown.
That's also, honestly, the medical gown is the first costume, actually.
Yeah, really? I'd say that's fair. When did they did that during? That was season 3, wasn't it?
No, that was season 2. Season 2.
Season 2.
Then you might remember. Well, you remember the season 2 DLC is Robot Rebellion. So it's like like the Mad Max armor. But what they did around the time, it was around April Fools. They did like a DLC trailer on April Fools, but it was a fake one, and it showed them in the medical gowns.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Honestly, April. That's like season 2 was like released at the end of April.
Well, yeah. I mean, they were teasing, so it would have been But okay.
And then obviously
so
that year,
while,
and that year, so it was later that year. The elf. Oh, God damn it! That does not feel like last year. The fucking elf costumes feel way older than that for some reason. That's last year.
It really scares me that we're only like a couple months away from the next Christmas event. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but anyway, apart from that, so the outfit itself is obviously it's pretty strongly. Well, it's a themed costume, but it's also just not that bad at all. Really, it's actually a decent bit.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've got that. I haven't yet to bother to get the sausage hat, but the outfit, that's actually.
I mean, I'm gonna get the hat. Actually, you know what? We should talk about the assignments a little bit. Basically, just the value of them, really, because what I noticed when I read the Oktoberfest preview originally, and it outlined the 2 different assignments, I realised that they didn't call it this, but what was the last year's fashion one, the one that unlocks all the previous hats for you, that's the one that they put the costumes in. So I was immediately like, that is easily the most valuable assignment out of the 2. By a lot. Like, the costumes themselves would do it immediately, by a lot, but then it's also factoring in all the other stuff in case people miss it. For example, Tyler,
one
think about it.
Like that.
Well, no, Tyler, think about it. You're probably not gonna get that hat, are you?
No.
But think, like for example, next year, if they have another assignment for like the other thing, whatever it is, probably not another costume, but maybe there'll be another one. That would include all the previous hats, and then you'll have it.
Yeah, well, that's my game plan. Is because I know realistically I'm going to be playing next year, and I'm just hoping that at this time next year I feel like playing more. Because I know that come next event, those hats I can still get those hats. Like, I don't like them enough. I know I won't use them, so I'm not sad that I'm missing out on them. Like, I don't need the shark hat. I didn't get the shark hat. I don't feel bad about it. Like, I don't really care. That's especially since I know that I can get it next year, relative ease.
I mean, Oh yeah, I mean, my enjoyment doesn't go down, but my drive obviously is the thing that fluctuates. But I still enjoy it enough just to get everything because I've kept that up, since pretty much the beginning of me playing the game. So, if I don't if I can do it, I'm gonna do it. So I'm gonna get that stupid fucking sausage hat, but
Yeah.
I'm not over the moon about it. But yeah, the outfit itself is actually decent. But it still fills me with incalculable rage. We can't apply paint jobs to it.
Especially since people definitely can apply paint jobs to it, right?
Yeah, so the cosmetic restriction remover is, so I understand why they don't want to add the mod to the game. That's because it would basically. Well, actually, I don't know how the mod actually works in game. I don't know if it just adds all of those paint jobs to. I don't know if it just adds every paint job to everything. I assume that's what it does. And I can see why they wouldn't want to do that, especially because this is probably the most drip-feedy part of the game. Actually, is how like matching cosmetics are introduced. I mean, I still have the big issue of them not exactly being matching, but it's like, it's like you'll get one, like, this is usually paint. This is pretty much exclusively paint job though. Or you'll get like one season where it might be for the weapons or the armors, and the next season will include like a matching thing for the other thing that was missed last season.
Yeah.
And well, I mean, I don't know what that was. I think that's a little bit of a tangent, but basically, they just think it would sort of just dilute things, or it's just unnecessary in some way to do exactly that, to take the mod. But what the point I was getting at with like bringing the mod up is that it doesn't do any work as far as I can tell. It is automatic, so it's just automatically allowing the paint jobs to be applied to the lederhosen outfit, for example, because I've seen that, because it already has that color mapping in it. The textures that they apply are still mapped to like the primary, tertiary, secondary, quaternary, even like the quaternary colors of all the paint jobs, so they just work.
I think people like they would prefer the mod where they can use any color scheme that the game has added on anything they want. They would prefer that, but Ghost Ship wouldn't want to kind of devalue everything that much and kind of mess around like that. So, but like that doesn't mean that means they shouldn't do it at all. What that essentially means is that sleeveless option that's like there. They should add another one next to it, and this is for the helmets as well, where maybe they could just unlock it essentially, and it probably wouldn't even need that much. Just like if you haven't got a color scheme on the character, it would use its default one. Just stop adding and remove forced colors. That's really the bare minimum people want. They don't like forced colors because who likes forced anything?
Yeah, so this is obviously we have like we've said a lot of things about changes we would like to see to cosmetics, but what I think this one is, to avoid just going on a rant, what I think this one is actually something that is not only very doable, but it's much more in the in a vacuum. This change is much more in the vein of something like the changes made in season 4, like the sleeveless option. It's something like that. It's maybe a little bit bigger. I would say it definitely is actually, but just doing this. I mean, on its own, because obviously, like I said, we have a lot of other things that we'd like to see change about cosmetics, but that's not. First of all, it's probably not going to come in its entirety, and it's definitely not going to come all at once. Forgive me for that one. But that could still, this alone, sort of adding this uniform color paint job toggle, that would be a really cool thing just to see, even on its own, added in season 5 or 6 or something. Just as one of those additions in the vein of the sleeveless toggle.
Yeah, I think a very
but that's my way of making it sound more reasonable to them.
Yeah, a very gradual, like a very slow, like rework of the cosmetics is viable, I think.
Well, it makes it feel more like we're getting it after I read that thing about how they acknowledge that the system's really old. So that makes the changes that we've been getting recently, like even if they've been stretched out over a long period of time, it does make it feel like we are getting that as best as they can do, because the acknowledgement that it's old means it's also not necessarily easy to work with either. There's not going to be a big overhaul in one for the cosmetic system. I don't think that's going to happen.
They're probably looking at it at a more like, what can we do within the parameters of this, right? Like, how could we change up the cosmetic system without completely changing it, because you might need to do that, but we're not doing it now. And so it seems like their solution, at least for that season, was sleeveless, right? Like, hey, we could make the armor sleeveless, and that would like change some of the base armors. And everyone's like, all right, yeah, sure, yeah, do that. You know, I think I'm realizing that it's a bit half-assed that you can't do it for the DLC ones. Like, I don't quite get that. Why can't you do it for the DLC ones? Like, you're now paying for armor cosmetics that you have less ability to customize. You thought about it that way.
Which one are you talking about specifically?
You can't change any of the DLC ones, right?
DLC
Armors.
what?
Armors.
What are you talking about?
You can't make any of the DLC armor sleeveless.
Oh, sleeveless. Sorry, fucking hell. I missed that part. I was like, what? Paint jobs? Yeah, sleeveless. Yeah, that was a bit of like a black and white thing where it's just like, I guess we can't because they looked at, you know, most of them. But it's not, because it is most of them actually. So the DLC armors are, and I'm not gonna, this won't take too long because I do have them all in my head. Dark Future, Roughneck, Robot Rebellion, Biohazard, and Dawn of the Dread. So multiple of those. Roughneck, you kind of get it, even though we don't. Look at Gunner, for example.
Yeah.
Well, one of his, first of all, he still has, even on the sleeveless arm, he's still got a little bit of like a t-shirt sleeve, right? So, for some of them, it should have been in place, really, but it just doesn't need to do anything if it doesn't have anything to do. And that's fine.
It just like, feels like...
Because Dawn of the Dread would have been cool. Like, Dawn of the Dread is obviously mostly sleeveless, but it still would have been interesting to be able to change that and get rid of the parts that are on their arms. But obviously, it's like Biohazard and Dark Future are the ones where they're fully sleeved, and they didn't even do it for that, where all of the characters are fully sleeved in those armors.
But it feels like they were like, all right, players, not all players have the DLC, so you don't really have to make them sleeveless, if you know what I mean. Either that, or they see it as, you know, the players bought the DLC with the sleeves. That's just how they look, and that's how they're gonna get it.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure if this is what you're implying, but I really hope it's not a thing of like less people have them, you know. So it's not worth the effort, because I don't think it would be either.
But I think it might be, because I don't know. Like, it made sense to me for a while. It's just all of a sudden I'm realizing, what? Like, you like the armor you start with is more customizable than the armor you pay for. Yeah. That's kind of silly. It's kind of silly, goofy. And I don't know. That just weirded me out.
What was that? What was that other thing that we saw? I think it was in the dev Q&A where we picked up on it, on what could be a cosmetic change next season, like the next sort of thing that they do in this department. There was something.
Scars they mentioned.
Would it be? But would that have been it? Would that have been it?
I don't. That's the only one I can think of that they brought up in the Q&A. Like, they were like, someone asked for scars, and they were like, we were thinking about it, but we don't really know how that would fit in. Like, how we would do that. The system's kind of old. I think that's what that comment was.
Either way, I mean, sorting out sleeveless with DLC armors, I think should be done in like season 5, for example, if they're going to do it at all, which they should. If they're going to do it at all, because that sort of works as like a follow up, basically, to the change made in season 4.
Because I think if we read them right, they were kind of rushed last season. Like, I really do feel like they had to just try and do as much as they can in the small amount as they can as they could. Like,
it's such an awkward idea though that season 4 was rushed, isn't it? Given that it took how long it took. Like, it's just an awkward notion. It's just an
but yeah, it is. But
it's fucking Taz.
I think he's
Tasmanian Devil down there.
I think he's playing with the cats. He's just retarded.
Beg your pardon?
Hey, don't throw that in here.
Don't use that word.
Why not you? I was running because he was.
Were you making the weird sounds at the cat? Were you making the weird sound at the cat?
No.
No, you were just doing that.
Weird noise,
You okay?
Anyway, I threw that for.
Say hello to
Mitchell!
2 people that are watching this.
Phone 2 people.
What?
It's not fair. It's probably more people.
Yeah, that is not true. Only on Barrel Vision.
Yeah. Right. Where were we?
We're where we are. Moving on, I think. Actually.
Yeah, we kind of fell into the cosmetic hole there.
Yeah. No. Okay, we'll move on to the next big thing. Also, are your cats in your room now?
Yes.
Fuck.
He threw a toy in.
All right, it's about to get.
Out.
All right, sorry everyone, it's ruined.
Bye bye. There you go. I threw it down the stairs and I won't fly.
Yeah, well, the next the other half, I would say. There's a couple of miscellaneous things that I want to get to, and we will. But it's Below Decks. Oh, not the other half, sorry, the other third. There's sort of 3 big things, and Below Decks is the next one. So Below Decks is a new series, and I use that in air quotes for some reason.
We've only got one so far.
That's why.
Right?
That's mainly why I'm sort of,
If we didn't know that they literally hired someone for the sole purpose of essentially doing this exact thing, because that guarantees that okay, this is clearly going to be more than one post. Plus, they made an actual I don't know what you call it, like a logo, I guess.
It's got a logo and sort of shit. I feel like there's actually a word for this, it's
got branding.
Branding might be it. Yeah. Anyway, so this is something though that we didn't know it was going to be called this or done in this way, but this is something that we caught wind of before it happened, before the first one happened. I tuned into a dev stream. I think it was actually after the last Deep Rock podcast, which was pretty doomerish, unfortunately. That's Tyler's fault.
Yeah, mostly talking about this exact thing.
Yeah, and that's why it was so just refreshing and just nice. They were sort of talking about this. Rather, they had someone on. I think he's been on literally every dev stream since as well, by the way. And they were sort of talking about how he's a new guy. This is Aaron. This is Ghost Ship Games. Aaron, come on the show. You're invited. And he's an American, which doesn't have anything to do with it. I mean, apart from sort of just solidifying that he is definitively new blood. And that his job is actually I shouldn't sort of be silly here. We do have his actual content writer. That's his job. That's his job title. But he explained it in the sense that his entire job is going to be, I think, writing all the Steam posts, but more specifically to do this, actually. To do Below Decks, which, because they mentioned on that stream that they actually were experiencing, since season started, a frustration in terms of what they were able to communicate and when. Because it's actually, which does confirm as well to me, at least in part, taken with a grain of salt, that seasons is when it became more one update at a time. Although that is pretty obvious, I think. But that's what, for some reason, that's what marked the change of they only sort of plan ahead. They don't plan ahead. They just work on the next thing. And that is also, in my opinion, obviously how that frustration came to be, where
I think
they just had much less means to communicate the future because they just shifted direction developmentally to not focus on the future as much. The
future became so far away. Like, if you think about it, with the updates before, and using the word updates, it was like 4 months maximum. It basically, like, a month in they would give the roadmap, and then like a month after that we would start getting teasers. Oh, like if they, I think they did do teasers back then, not as much as they do now, like in such a grand manner. But like there was so little time where they wouldn't talk to people because it's like updates so constantly, and they're most active when there's an update, right? When there's a season, and that was something we obviously talked about in that last podcast. But they seem to have noticed that, and now they've hired a guy specifically to keep communication between Ghost Ship and like the community alive, just always. It seems.
So he spoke about giving actual behind-the-scenes stuff on what they're working on, like coming up. It's like he was pretty open about the fact that this would go into bigger things, like obviously because we'll get into what the first one was. Shit, where was I? I had a point. Why do I do this?
You're a silly, goofy boy.
I am silly goofy, aren't I? Fuck. Right, I'm not going to waste people's time here. Yeah. Basically, the frustration came from sort of just having less to announce, because it's not like they ever did behind the scenes stuff necessarily. And they didn't have the means to. They didn't have They didn't have the means to. They didn't have someone who was dedicated to doing that. So everyone was just from sort of the beginning of season 1's development, they were kind of just working with less to announce because they didn't have as much to announce. But now they're introducing a way of communicating that doesn't about future content that doesn't inherently rely on an actual announcement of it either. It's sort of that's what behind the scenes stuff is. They haven't. That's what I'm saying is they didn't really do behind the scenes stuff before, and that's now that they're doing it, it should make it much easier because behind the scenes is the kind of thing that really only happens. Like for example, I would say we're probably not gonna get these posts during like teaser season, right? Because you don't need to. This in my opinion is for the time when their heads are down and they're not thinking about that. So because of that fact, they have a guy whose job it is to think about that.
I would say that's when this is going to be its most important, but I wouldn't say that it's not going to occur during teaser season, because I think this could easily reinforce the teasers.
Oh yeah, I mean
right?
that's that. Yeah,
like they reveal something during the teasers, and then a Steam post comes up talking about behind the scenes, concept art, stuff like that. Right? Boom! That's immediate depth to that content that people kind of like. Because I think this is another thing that this is why I think this is so great. Is people are assuming they're not doing anything, and this behind the scenes thing is the exact answer to that.
Well,
right?
I mean, it's sort of. I guess so. I think the assuming is I guess it probably isn't actually assuming, but it's like it's a really unshakable feeling, more so, that almost becomes an assumption subconsciously. Like you can almost find yourself saying that they're not doing anything, even though you don't necessarily think that, but it's just the fact that you feel like nothing's going on. And they're seeking to change that, and it is legitimate concern, right? You know, like outside, because we are a little bit divorced from the. Well, we are actually. To me, when it comes to actually how we view the game, we're pretty massively divorced from like the Reddit community, for example. I think we are divorced from the part of the community that is self-sustaining, and I think this really is for people like us, who I think is a much larger demographic than they realise. That is the people who aren't self-sustaining in their sort of excitement around the game, you know?
Yeah, or people who like care about the game mostly because they care about Ghost Ship. Like, there's a solid amount of people that genuinely, they care about Ghost Ship, and their love for the game is stemmed from the team behind it.
Yeah, but the self-sustaining people aren't that, are they?
They're the ones on the community. They're like it's the other players that are keeping them playing. But we really aren't that, are we? I don't think. I mean, you play solo all the time, and when I play, I only really play with you. So it's basically one of the situations where if they're kind of marketing to the other side of people, like the people that care, really. That's like the main thing. And I think it's going to make more people care as well.
But sort of before we actually, which we're not going to spend long on, because frankly, I don't care about the actual subject matter of the first one they did, so we're not going to dwell on that particularly. But this is sort of what I was referring to when I said we are a little bit more on their wavelength than people think, maybe. And I don't want to sort of get high and mighty about this. I just mean there are people who are very sort of shuttered and very defensive about the game in a way that is kind of nonsensical, and they'll sort of try and take down concerns that are very genuine and shared by Ghost Ship. That's what I'm getting at here. That's what I meant. When they said they were frustrated over not being able to communicate as much, that directly echoes our frustration with them not communicating as much. It just kind of tells us that we are... I think correct is the right word, but it tells us that we're not crazy, at least. It tells us that
and I mean, an example of that, not just for us, but for generally, it's been kicking around for a while, in that you say that you don't like escort duty, right? And that's an example. I think industrial sabotage is also another popular one, like more popular one.
Even though
people will
escort duty is going to change before industrial sabotage does again. By the way, I want to point that out.
Well, because this is the thing, and I think that this is why escort duty is a better example, is because escort duty. You say you don't like escort duty, and you will get kind of backlash from that. Not really backlash, but a lot of people saying no, escort duty is fine.
Well, they'll say they'll say, oh, but I really like it. They'll say that they don't usually come at you for saying you like it, but they'll always jump in and say, but I really like it though. It's like, do you?
Yeah,
are you sure?
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are willing to defend escort duty, unlike industrial sabotage. But ultimately, even the devs think escort duty is not great, right? Like they're like, okay,
yeah, well, so one of them, they just weren't. Did they basically just say something like they didn't really want to do it? Is that correct? When they came across one in
anything like that.
Maybe we shouldn't say that. But there has been over the course of quite a few months, there's been a recurring theme about escort duty, but it's always kind of been a different part of it though. I can't remember all of them, but I remember at least two where like one of them is like about the like stages during the Omeran fight, how like they can't just randomize it as is, and they'd have to add more, and they think maybe they should, they just don't know when. And also the thing about well, it was a result of a dumb suggestion, unfortunately, about making the fuel cell things do damage, which they probably shouldn't. But I can't remember what they said in response to that, actually. Either way, it's come up a couple of times, and there's been a very soft, but in my opinion, still clear acknowledgement that it's not perfect, basically.
Yeah, and then obviously we've had, I think it was Mikkel, right, who came out to say what he would kind of classify as perfect, being mining expedition, right?
Yeah, and then you also get that sort of that sentiment that they have put out there that the next mission type that they do want it to be simpler as well. There is also that, which sort of which just reinforces the sentiment. It's not specific to escort duty, but
yeah, and it's just kind of like it's stuff like that that's been kicking around for a little while, but this is one of the biggest versions where it's like people are willing to defend stuff. Like people are defend stuff from things that even Ghost Ship like acknowledge as bad, like like stuff like that, right? That people are like, this part of the game sucks, and then these people are like, no, it doesn't. It's really good. Don't talk about like Ghost Ship like that. And then Ghost Ship says this part of the game sucks.
Do you know what doesn't get that though? Do you know what we know what doesn't get that though, don't we? We know what doesn't get that treatment, where people sort of say things against it. And it's usually people agreeing with them.
What, the people that don't fight when someone says it sucks?
Yeah.
Is this a segue onto the Rockpox?
No, actually, no, we're not done with that. I was just going to mention perks. It's just perks. It's just perks.
Right.
But actually, I don't want to have a full discussion about perks, but it's going to come up a little bit. Not yet, though. Not yet.
I wouldn't inherently say that. Like, a lot of people are advertising for a perk rework, but I feel like if you publicly said, "Oh, come on, where's the perk rework? We want it now," a solid amount of people are like, "What? No, perks are fine. What?" like I don't know. I feel like you can still probably see that, but yeah, Ghost Ship also very actively perk rework is needed. They agree.
Yeah, because they've been, and this is their words, they've been discussing it. Or they've been saying that it should happen for like 2 years. They said that.
I think realistically,
well, one of them said that. Actually, one of them said that.
I think realistically, on average, if you were to say things that is good about the game and is bad about the game, on average, Ghost Ship would probably agree with more things that you say is bad. Like, I feel like they know best at what's bad about the game than they probably even know what's good about the game. Like, I would imagine, like, they probably have a stronger grasp.
I agree with that a lot. Actually, because I think Ghost Ship overall doesn't know some things that are good about the game as much. I think some of them do, like Mike does, I think, because Mike's the guy who does the weapon balancing, and that shit is fire. You know?
Yeah.
That was the best thing about Season 4. The most universally positive thing about Season 4.
Yeah, and the fact that he isn't getting like there isn't more people jumping onto that, or it's not more prominent things like from now on.
The fact that he hasn't been given a fucking medal, the fact that they literally they should just, and this sounds a bit, maybe this does sound a bit harsh, they should just lock him in a room, give him a bunch of Adderall, and say, "Go to town, buddy." That's what they should do.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
As much as I think that might lead to some weird overclocks.
That's exactly what I want, though. I want Mike to go, because it really does feel like, specifically for season 4, like, obviously the Sabata thing was much more a directed thing, you know. But I honestly think all the overclock changes that he made during experimental, I think they just completely lifted their hands off the keyboard and like let him do it himself. I think he was completely set loose for like 2 weeks, and that's what we got.
Yeah.
And it was awesome.
Which is why I think we could see, like, from now on, weapon balancing being a bigger part of seasons.
Well, I really hope it is. I hope that they see how positively received that was, because what that does as well.
That's just one guy that immediately saves the season.
If you get that every season, that can almost make the desire for like more overclocks, for example, less prominent. Like, genuinely, it did a little bit. It did a little bit in satiating where that desire comes from. As in, just I really want. Obviously, we need to wait, because that's not a pattern that's been set even close to. That's only happened once so far.
They've reinforced a part of weapon balancing in that a weapon gets a overhaul, mostly mod based, every season. That is something that they have just continued. Like, we could have just said it was a bit of an accident or an accident, but like kind of a thing we've kind of looked more into than they have before season 4.
I want to at some point, and it wouldn't be a whole episode, but I definitely want to have that as like a topic. What's like the next one going to be?
Which, honestly, that wouldn't be a bad thing to throw in the.
We should probably do some polls on that.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad thing to throw into the roadmap if they knew it. If Mike knew ahead of time which one he's looking at. Which, to be honest with you, I genuinely think it's not a matter of like which one he would need to look at. I think you could genuinely pick one and be in a good, like, just a good shout. Like, I assume he knows which one's good and which one's bad. And I don't think there is an individual bad one that you could pick and would be wrong to do so, if you know what I mean. Like, if Stubby goes another season without getting buffed, I don't think it's the end of the world, as long as, like, the M1000 gets it. Or you get the point, right? That, like, of the list of bad guns, or, like, not amazing guns, we're talking not, like, the GK2, not the sludge pump.
I think they need to buff the minigun. They don't. Oh, no, that was me just trying to think of the most well-rounded weapon.
I guess, yeah, it is pretty solid. But, like, I think that there are guns that I think are in a really good place. That's often the ones that they touch, like the GK and the sludge pump, fucking immaculate coming out of those buffs. Sabata, I wouldn't say is up there. I think that, but it has been brought up to the middle ground, which is, I think, weapons which no harm being done with them being the way they are right now.
Well, I was thinking about this a little bit. For some reason, I was thinking about this last night, and I was thinking, every weapon to me has actually crossed the barrier of the minimum, which is that they all feel good enough to use at base and have at least 2 distinct, balanced ways of using them. But in my opinion, there's still a lot of areas, like some of them are very confined to that. The Stubby is one that is very confined to that. There's really only 2 okay ways of using it. So the problems lie elsewhere. The problems lie in specific things, like it's just a really not great tier 5, or some of its overclocks are poor. I don't think Stubby needs a ground up change.
I think grenade launcher as well, that kind of thing.
Grenade launcher has more than 2 distinct ways of using it, but it still has some pretty major issues.
Yeah, its mod choices are invalid most of the time. Like, it's, you know, like, Fat Boy, what does it fucking matter? Just get as much ammo as you can, job done, really, at that point, right? And, like, every other thing, you want to put fire on it. Like, stuff like that, I think that's in the final category. The last one where, like, I would say the grenade launcher and the Stubby are in that category, but I wouldn't say either needs one more than the other. Yeah. I think as long as he picks one that I think everyone can kind of universally say, not great, not great. Like like if he's like, okay, this weapon needs buffing, and everyone's like, yeah, fair enough. Which I think there is like at least 4 of them in the game. I would say stubby, grenade launcher. I don't want to continue this further, but I feel like there are some. Like, I don't know, well, maybe the flamethrower and Zukov's actually fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah, Zukov.
Yeah, basically, you just have to pick one of those.
The Zukov could get it. Honestly, I could see them getting. The only reason I don't think it's going to happen is because Engineer has been has been dying of thirst for a long time now.
Yeah.
Not really hurting, but Engineer hasn't been touched, even though I think there are genuine ways that he needs to be touched. Like, I think the stubby and the grenade launcher, like we said, do have distinct issues that need to be touched, and it's just like just being fucking left. No, Spinning Death gets buffed, which is great, by the way. Spinning Death is fucking awesome now, but either way.
Yeah, but I think generally it does have a bit of an issue where I feel like most of the balancing that he does, but in this kind of way, it's mostly just buffing. It's not actually improving. I mean, it kind of does. Like, I think the GK and the sludge pump did feel better coming out of it. Like, because, he threw on the armor breaking into the base weapon for the sludge pump. That was pretty good.
Well, hold on,
right?
hold on. I mean, I'm not 100% sure what you're saying, because the ones, the overhauls are definitely not just buffing. There's a lot of, like, swapping things around and moving things between, like, for example, moving damage between the base weapon and mods and ammo and things like that. I thought you were referring to the overclock changes in Season 4. Because that stuff is just straight buffs. But
I guess
the overhauls aren't as straightforward, actually.
Oh yeah, I guess the overhaul, because I would say the Sabata, I would actually say it was closer to an attempt of improving it in the way that I would want things to be improved, in that like better mod choices and feels better to use than inherently stronger. Because I don't think it went up that higher, that much higher in strength.
No.
But it added the 2-shot and the neurocorrosive bullets one. Those two drastically improved how much I enjoy using the Sabata. Technically, really only with one build, still, and it's still explosive reload. But it is actually a type of Sabata that I like using, which obviously I didn't have going into it. So fair
success.
Enough. But that kind of thing. Yeah, but that kind of thing, yeah. I think technically, in an ideal world, we wouldn't just get one, right? Maybe if that was all he did, then he could do a couple more than one.
Well, I think he could, because like I said, I don't think the changes. I don't think any weapon needs the same number of changes that's left. I think you could take the number of changes made to the Sabata, and that's enough to bring up at least 2 other weapons to the place that they need to be. I don't think there's any weapon that is as dire as the Sabata was. So I think that amount of effort could actually be distributed better, or distributed in general, like at all, not necessarily better.
I think some things it's really interesting, because I think he has to have a really firm grasp on like a lot of things I don't think anyone really knows about. Like I don't think we do. I don't even think Lazy maybe quite like understands like how those guns work as much as he would have to balance it like correctly. Like, what level should each like weapon be? Like, at what level is a engineer secondary? Right? How strong is the correct amount of strength? I think that's only he can know that, right? That's his job, it seems, right? And I think it's something only he can really dictate.
Yeah.
And I think that's really interesting, and the stuff that he could do to change things. Because I am of the opinion.
Come on the show. You're invited.
Yeah. I would pay a very genuine amount of money to nerf / remove the fire mod on basically all the guns just for a little while and see what happens.
Yeah, I think the fire mod, that's such an interesting, like, honestly, that could sustain at least half an episode. So maybe I don't know if I want to get into that right now, but it is interesting because it's like, honestly, the only one that should really have it is probably the shard factor. And everything else should probably be something different.
But it's literally, because it's like,
turn them all into radiation.
that wouldn't really change much. But
I genuinely believe this, and you can call me crazy if you want. And guess what? I am fucking crazy, but I still think it's a fantastic fucking idea. Is that, and it would hurt Fatboy's reputation a lot, but I want to take the Fallout and make that a mod alongside Incendiary Compound.
That's the other option, right?
And obviously, the Fallout would be like that would be affected like by radius as well. Your radius mod, it would always be big because that's how it works. It's like 9 meters, but it would still be changed by what you pick, and it would actually be intrigue. That would actually be awesome. That would do a lot for hyper propellant actually as well, because it would give it a little bit of AOE.
It's like, yeah, because the way you see the balancing of this is different to the way I would balance it, which I think is also probably both different to how Mike would, considering he hasn't yet.
Well, maybe we should all come together and do it together.
Yeah,
all three
but
of us.
I would remove the crutch, see how well it crawls around, and then work my way up from there.
So, would you think this is something that literally he should run experiments during experimental branch?
Yeah, essentially, yeah. Just remove the crotch on the, and I say all of them because I think it stands up for most of all of them, but really it's the boomstick and the grenade launcher. You remove the fire mod on those two, and I think they half in strength. And I honestly think the boomstick's actually not that bad anymore with double barrel. It actually holds up pretty well. You still use fire on the double barrel though. You still continue to use it because there's no reason not to. But I genuinely think that take fire off the grenade launcher and then it becomes the worst secondary by far on engineer. By far. You could not justify it with anything other than probably Fatboy at that point, right?
And kind of hyper propellant.
Yeah, but it's like even then it's
most of it. But then it's like hyper propellant, honestly, one of the main reasons that I don't hate it is because of the patrol bot thing actually,
yeah,
because it
fire,
doesn't actually one-shot them normally. That's why people take fire. I mean, he gets close, but yeah.
So without the fire, would you pick hyperpropellant over like the breach cutter or shelter factor at just base strength?
No. I don't. I don't. Like this is actually why I'm starting to like the PGL more. Not in an actual balancing perspective. Like I still have it. It's actually because obviously I am an engineer main, and due to that fact, the PGL is the weapon that I have the most changes I would make to it. But my love for it is actually increasing because I'm a contrarian dickhead, basically. So, because my favourite overclock, and I think we're actually the same on this, our favourite overclock for the PGL is Clean Sweep.
Radius one.
Yeah, the clean radius one. And the reason why I love that is because, and mainly because there's been an uptick in this recently of memes on the Reddit constantly, where it's like Stan from Gravity Falls, where it's like finally I have them all, and it's it's the what's seen as like the three pillars of the PGL, which is RG250, Hyper Propellant, and Fatboy. And I'm looking at it, I think,
yeah,
whack.
Well, because I think even then, like the PGL, even without touching the fire one, has blatant issues that literally everyone knows, and it's wild that he hasn't patched it yet. Right? That two of the overclocks that give you ammo are literally useless.
Yeah, I don't know how to exactly. I basically, I think that honestly, RG250 needs like a lot of its ammo spread out, basically. Maybe even all of it spread out to like everything else. Some of it should go to the balanced one. Some of it should go to the clean one. Some of it should even go to the base weapon. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. What I do know is that balanced ammo one needs to give you more like in the clip. That's what that one needs to do. I think it needs to give you like 3 grenades per clip or something like that, and like split the damage in 3. That's what it should do.
I would say the opposite. I would say RJ250 should give you more than one shot in a clip, so you can like double jump mid-air essentially.
Yeah,
like, you can shoot yourself up and then shoot yourself off something of this guy as well.
I want to see Mike basically maybe actually don't make the changes too extreme, but obviously apart from the incendiary thing. But I wanted to take that balanced ammo one and just turn it into something else. That's what I want to see him do. That's what I want.
Because I mean, otherwise, So I would actually say that as much as I hate the stubby, I think clearly one of the most flawed weapons in the game is the grenade launcher, and I feel like the only reason he hasn't touched it is because so many people love it.
The thing it's flawed in a very particular way, isn't it? Its flaws actually give it its favor. So it's actually a very dangerous thing to touch.
Yeah, because as much as I said earlier, like I said, like you want to pick something that.
Shut up, bitch.
It's Mitch. You need to pick something that
mates.
Everyone would kind of agree needs buffing or needs changing, and I feel like the grenade launcher is a risky one. Because I think everyone, like, it wouldn't take much for people to realize, okay, no, there are flaws. Because everyone knows the 2 useless fucking overclocks, right? But, like, if he, like, approaches the 3 main ones that everyone, like, relies on to use, and the fire mod, then, like, people might get angry.
Well,
because he is stepping on territories where he might ruin their gun for
That's
them.
why you can take the more based approach and just bring everything else up.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't actually think that's the healthiest approach, but I think that's probably the only one that would stop him from getting crucified. Maybe.
What do you mean bring everything else up? Well, I'm of the opinion that you get rid of the fire mod or essentially nerf it into the ground, or, and this is an interesting one, have it work because it's broken, right? It's not supposed to heat the full amount of damage the entire radius. It's not supposed to do that, is it? It's probably supposed to scale to the damage done to those enemies, the amount of heat done.
I mean, I personally think that... Actually, no, I don't. I don't know if it's meant to do that or not. I don't know if that's intentional. I can't guess, but, I mean, my radiation idea would be the same, where that would also not rely on that either. That's a problem. It's a problem.
But I would basically make it so the grenade launcher without the fire effect, which either you nerf that or make it work or remove it, it actually kills things. Like, it actually kills things. Because without the fire thing, it doesn't ever really, does it?
No. So we shouldn't really be doing this, by the way. But genuinely, the PGL, I think, does actually need a base damage up. Like, it needs to, because, and I'll tell you why, because
the damage fall off shouldn't be as high.
Well,
and probably both, realistically.
It could be both. I'd rather it actually just be like exceptionally strong closer to the middle, but what needs to change for it to be able to compete with the others without incendiary compound, it needs to be able to kill grunts. Base PGL needs to be able to kill grunts anywhere in the radius, and it actually can't. Right at the edge, they don't die. It needs to be able to do that without any damage up, so it just needs to. That's what needs to. That's the thing that needs to change, in terms of the base strength. And once it does that, once you have that breakpoint met, suddenly you are going to kill everything else much more reliably as well, and that would inherently decrease, maybe not by much, that would still decrease the amount of uses, how many people are using incendiary compound. Like,
people would still use no, it wouldn't though, because people would still be using it because that damage would be decreased during the explodey jumpy. That decreases the damage radius and all that other bollocks, doesn't it? Right? That's why people use the fire even more so. It's literally it is because that's the only way you can kill things with the more ammo mod. Like, it is that mod. Honestly, if that mod wasn't there, RJ250 might not actually be as used as much because it wouldn't be free ammo. You would pay the price for the ammo.
Yeah.
But because of the fire, it is free ammo and a rocket jump. And it's genuinely...
why I straight up stopped using RJ250. Like,
yeah.
I sort of discovered it a little bit before it sort of took off. And then after it took off, I started to understand that it was kind of just dumb. Even, well, it is kind of overpowered, but more than that, it's just stupid. Just
I think my issue with the fire thing is personal as well, because I liked the stunner one. Clean sweep with stun. I really liked doing that, and I just stun a horde, but nothing dies like at all.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's fine because they're stunned, but then I can't really do much about it. So I had to put on fire to win. Like, it is a terrible build without the fire exploit. Like,
And obviously,
because it just
and
doesn't
that's the
do
clean
anything.
sweep one, but I use clean sweep that's still with incendiary compound because it hits the breakpoint for guards, just with the damage that clean sweep adds alone, which isn't much. It's like literally just +10, but it's enough that it sets guards on fire. Which obviously, setting a guard on fire and doing nothing else to it, that's not going to kill the guard, right? But in a big grunt horde, right, that's at least going to help propagate heat more, and it's going to stay on fire for a decent amount of time. So it's literally just that. So it basically means that clean sweep with incendiary compound, you can eviscerate hordes. You can eviscerate hordes of small enemies in the same radius as Fat Boy, but with double the ammo. The only thing that you lose is not being able to delete like big enemies in that same area, which is what my prime weapon's for anyway. So get fucked.
My issue with that, and it's not an issue really, but it is that I think you should be able to do that without relying on a mod. It should do that essentially, like, and then the mod is basically where you turn it into a long-lasting fire. So you trade out that just burst of damage for a more sustained damage that has a high chance of setting other things on fire, right? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like,
also, remove
shouldn't be free damage.
Right. So, obviously the hurricane is, in my opinion, actually in a much better place. But both of them need that fire mod addressed, and also need the fucking. Because look, we know the unbreaking mod isn't going to get fixed. All right.
Remove it. Get rid of it.
Add something else.
It doesn't work. like these are some serious. These are things that.
There's some serious issues in the first world problems.
Yeah. You know, there's poverty and corruption.
I'm so happy we haven't got a comment like that. Like, really, about like, why are you getting so angry over this? I mean, we don't get those comments. Really.
Yeah,
we don't get comments that are like, why are you getting so angry over this when there are literally like people dying? I mean, and I feel like maybe we don't because no one actually gets those comments. I think there is actually a base level of intelligence there, but I'm still very entertained by that idea that someone would say that's just like, well, but you know, this is what we're talking about. We're not talking about that, so shut up. But you know, that's straw manning, so I shouldn't do that.
Yeah. But
I straw man a lot in a very self-aware manner.
Yeah. And so wait, the armor break one, the grenade launcher has that, right?
Yeah, and it's fucking broken. Doesn't do shit.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Hold on a minute. I need to confirm this because I think I'm like 90% sure it's the case, but I need to confirm. It is engineer. I'm on Carl. Engineer. It is in the same tier as incendiary compound.
It literally, I think if they tackled the grenade launcher with the approach,
what I'm saying was that's the one that would become the radiation one, the fallout one.
Maybe, yeah. But I think if Mike tackled the grenade launcher with the idea in his head that any issues the grenade launcher has to check those things for other weapons, the game would be in a lot better place. Like, if he approached the grenade launcher and he was like, "Oh, the ammo, you know, the armor breaking mod doesn't work," and then he approached every other armor breaking mod, fixed them, or removed them.
No. The approach he should take in season 5 is like, I'm going to fix the problems that come out of these broken armor breaking mods and these incendiary mods. That's what I'm going to do. Yeah. That's what I wanted to do.
I feel
and that would cover like multiple weapons as well.
If he just picked. Because I think he could accidentally stumble across that mindset if he just picks the grenade launcher as the weapon he needs to fix.
Better yet, Mike, come on the show and we'll tell you everything you need to
do. Or you can explain to us why we're wrong.
The problem is,
and why all the
no. The problem, if we did, the scary thing about that is if we did like manage to get him, like if we managed to interview him or something. Unfortunately, I can imagine it just ending up just us just making demands.
No, yeah and no, because I think it would be very interesting.
I'm kind of joking. I think we're better than that, but
no, but I think it would be kind of one of those things where like as far as we're concerned, any armor break mod on an AOE weapon doesn't work. Why are they still in the game? Why don't they work? Please explain this to us. And then that would be kind of, you know, where some of it comes from. Like, it would be based on our, you know, thoughts of balancing on the game. but it would kind of bounce off his, or it would kind of depend on what he's like, really, isn't it? Because I think, I think it is.
Well, I mean, I can't know. It's like he was on the anniversary stream at one point, but it was not that. I think he was like running the trailer competition thing, so it wasn't. It's completely irrelevant to his job. It was completely. Either way, I think we should steer back to stuff. But that was good. Yeah. That's good. I do need the toilet though.
All right.
I need the toilet, Tyler. Let me go.
All right.
All right, go to the toilet. We're back, baby.
All right. Are we moving on to topic?
Nope.
3.
So we actually, unfortunately, we do actually have to finish what we were talking about originally before we went on that ridiculously awesome tangent. And it's going to be brief, but we kind of need to talk about the actual article itself a little bit, okay, a little bit, right? Because I said before, I don't care about the actual subject matter, but that's almost the point. So the first and as of yet only actual Below Decks article, obviously the other one, the most recent one, still has the same branding, but this is the only Below Decks article we've gotten so far is sausage troubleshooting. It's literally about the creation of the sausage bucket hat from this Oktoberfest. So, and that's why I am almost 100% like certain this is just a trial. I mean, it kind of obviously is, like it is the pilot in a way, like just objectively because it's the first one. But also the choice of that and the acknowledgement in it that the series would delve into more important stuff. Further on, just confirms that to me. That is literally just him trying out the format, really, and seeing what he can make, seeing what he can get out of people.
In the live stream that you did, like they were trying to figure out what they're actually going to do, right? They still weren't sure.
Yeah.
So this is kind of their. Let's see how this goes. And I think, honestly, ultimately the subject matter being the sausage hat isn't entirely like riveting, right? Yeah. It's not the most fascinating thing in the world, but it kind of is as well. Like, who would have thought that hat would have taken like 12 to 15 hours?
Yeah, right? You got the numbers still downloaded into your brain. Yeah.
Yeah. Well no, because
that was literally the biggest takeaway in terms of this thing specifically.
Because it's quite useful information, because even though, as they say, that hat probably took longer than it normally would have because they struggled with it. That was the point of the article, right? Or not article, but it read like an article. They couldn't fix the physics, and then it suddenly fixed itself.
I can't remember if I said this. I must have said it at some point. It's so like it's also like smart adjacent. It's really bad in that sense of like so much. It's not even really innuendo, but innuendo. It's like, what's so fun about a jiggly sausage? But that's literally a subheading in the article. Yeah. It's like, Aaron, you're a sick man.
I love it. Do more.
But like, well, hold on. When he goes on to like talk about like, I don't know. Let's say they do what they should do and announce that like, perk rework is coming, and then he like does an article about just perks right now, and then. So how's he gonna have the same like approach? He can't. He can't.
He wants to perk up.
Perky breast.
Alright, Harry, that's a step too far.
Well, that's what he would have to do, really, isn't it, to keep the same level of
No, he wouldn't say the word breast, Harry. I think that's a step too.
You should be able to use the word breast freely, right?
You can do that in your own politician time, where you go and spout your politics.
Anyway, was that it?
No, it wasn't it. I didn't get my point because you wouldn't stop fucking interrupting.
Anyway,
my point was, who like that is important. We have never been given a time frame for how long it takes to make any cosmetic, and obviously this might be this. It seems to have taken longer than normal. That is still probably not that much more than normal. And so we're looking at maybe
I would say that they all probably take at least 10 hours, right?
Yeah, maybe around that. We'll probably know more later, but like yeah, if it takes them around 10 hours for each cosmetic, it probably does take them that entire like 6-month period to fill out the path, right? Like with like all the cosmetics and that, like
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so.
and especially since they're probably doing other things as well, like they're actually designing the new enemies. If it's a game mode, like then I don't know a game mode not really relevant unless it adds something new, like I guess the caretaker arena. But I'd say that's under enemies. It's not the point. But like biomes, they would have to design that as well. Like the DLC packs, the event stuff. Like I'm surprised. Like I feel like I shouldn't be surprised, but I'm glad I finally know how much there is behind the cosmetics. How much time is spent on them.
Do you think that
just for them to make it really shitty?
Do you think, in regards to what you said about how like it seems like this could actually, they could actually take that long to make a thing in the past? Do you think that makes it easier to come up with ideas rather than like? Because I almost feel like if it was really easy to make these things, then they would literally spend more time coming up with things, and that could almost result in them coming up with too much at once. But if it is more like a one thing at a time kind of thing, then I can imagine it being much more natural. Whereas like literally within the 10 hours that it takes to make one hat, that's when the idea for the next one comes along. I mean, I hope it's more like that, because that sounds to me like that would be better personally, rather than at the beginning them literally rather than at the beginning them spitballing every idea that they can, and then because obviously, when you have dedicated session, like when you dedicate time to coming up with ideas, it's usually not easy. It's like so.
Yeah. Well, I think the obviously we didn't get the entire look into it, but like because it was mostly focused on like the physics once it's already a 3D render, but like whether or not like like average FIFA player. That's all I say. But the like I don't think it's the same person that does like the whole thing. It might be, but we don't know yet, right? Like it could be someone actually draws like the design, like draws a bucket, adds some sausages coming out of it, boom, slap that into 3D, and then someone else makes that 3D, and then someone else adds physics. Or it's one person that does all three.
Hold on, let's not get into guesswork, because that's kind of what this is supposed to remove.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Is that hopefully over time we will start.
It will start to paint like a really like paint a picture of how things actually operate.
Which I think will be amazing for people that like season 5 comes out, or maybe season 5 solid, but like a while has been out. We've been getting these below decks for ages. Season 6 comes out and it's slightly disappointing, and people are like, oh, they're clearly not trying, and then we can just pull out the fucking documents on them and saying like, actually, considering what they've said on below decks, this is fair. They spent a solid amount of time on holiday.
Hell, I can literally imagine you putting out a fucking clipboard in front of people. And actually, we're literally going to become fucking doctors, and that scares me. It's like, I don't know. I don't like the. I mean, I do, but I'm more scared of the idea that we would become, because we would just obsess over these fucking things, that we would become like able to actually accurately evaluate what's going on just because of that. I don't know if that's even possible though.
It might be with these behind the scenes, because we've already gained something from this meme one, essentially, right? This prototype meme thing. We've now learned that the cosmetics seem to take longer than we would have thought.
Yeah, I mean, something that a subject that, and because the thing that annoys me is it's probably not gonna come up again. Like, I really wish this was a thing like more so around season 4's release, because I would have loved to have like something, one of these for like the sleeveless toggle, like the creation of that. Like that's like perfect for it.
I think
for one that's more similar to this, but still a bit more interesting.
I would ask you, Harry. As you know a little bit more about like writing, a bit more of this kind of sense. How long do you think it would have taken him to write the thing?
Okay, so this to answer that question, I'm going to copy and paste it into a Word document. I think that makes sense.
So you get a word count. I think you will have to include. You have to go around asking people, figuring out what to write in that.
Yeah, I could.
But
I could factor that in a little bit.
But
So, what, so you want me to estimate how long it took him to make? Well, first of all, I think he probably made the whole thing as well, including all of the. Just made the post, But there's other stuff in there.
He probably did everything other than design the below deck thing. He probably did all the rest, and that's all his thing. I think he also did the
875 words.
Was that 870 something?
875 words. That is like you could do that in like half an hour.
Right.
It's just like in a vacuum. Probably even less time in a vacuum. If you know what you're going to write, you can probably write about 1,000 words in half an hour.
Right. So it's probably
actually, that's quite high actually. But yeah, this is like in a vacuum. You could do this in half an hour.
The actual writing itself, but
yeah,
probably figuring out what to write, finding the stuff for it. Probably there are steps. And I think if we assume that he also wrote the Steam announcement post for the upcoming thing that I guess we'll still get to.
Well, that's the thing. Because the question I still kind of have.
Him, right?
Well, that's the thing. That's the question I still have is if he's doing literally everything. Because I would say if he's not, then he's at the very least wrote that as well. Like he's clearly there's clearly a branding going on here, and I don't know if that's Aaron's brand or not.
I mean, he probably had a good say in what that looked like, but I'm not sure he did it.
Well, I mean, the below decks thing's pretty obvious. It's good, like as in that's what it should be. That's what it should be called, right? And the theming is like very accurate. But why aren't they making pirate? Because we know Michael doesn't like fantasy. So can we at least get pirate stuff?
Pirates are real, Harry.
That's what I meant, Tyler. That's why I mean it's more. Why haven't we gotten that? Because they're not like fantasy. Because they're not.
Yeah.
Also, did you see? I'll show you afterwards. But did you, if you haven't seen it, but did you see like the pirate? Well, you wouldn't have. Like it was on Reddit. It's like a pirate like themed framework. Or was it armor? Someone did something. It's a guy. It was a guy who did the hot rod one.
Yeah, I saw it. There was a steampunk one he's designed.
Yeah, he did a steampunk one as well, which is a bit much.
I think we could probably wait and see for like a pirate themed season. I think we could probably see that, and then we'll get DLC.
When they actually introduce the space pirates,
like DLC, and so like the dwarves get some pirate drip.
Fuck's sake, that made me think about fucking space pirates, which is like feels unlikely because of what they said about like anthropomorphic enemies, but I want them to literally have like pirate ships that can fly in space.
Yeah, I think you could probably I imagine you could somehow tell a season where the actual thing that's going on isn't in the caves. Maybe the pirates are in the space because they're space pirates fighting the rigs which have started defending themselves, and like I don't know, some bollocks like that, and it like remnants of that is in the caves. Like sometimes stray shots will like fall down into the caves.
I mean, I kind of like the idea of it being a situation where they can't attack the pirates because the pirates aren't attacking them, but there's still like a big like pirate ship just hanging out.
Yeah.
But it's maybe and they can't like actually attack each other in that way, but they're still going down onto Hoxies and like mining.
Yeah, but that's just a rival corporation at that point. If all they cared about was mining, they would be a mining company. They're pirates. They would want to attack the rigs that's full of minerals.
You could still do that in a Deep Rock way, where they're actually trying to take apart like DRG hardware, like the Minehead, for example.
Maybe, but you're actively introducing the thing. You don't want the pirates in the caves because that gets rid of the pirates as a plan, right? Because they will be anthropomorphic. Stop thinking them as being in the caves, and the pirate plan becomes very simple to add. Like, it wouldn't matter at that point, right?
But where would they be?
So what if they're anthropomorphic? They're not in the caves. I don't know. Maybe they don't have to be in the caves. That's what I'm saying. That like the pirate stuff is all in the sky, and then maybe the event is like some pirate ships or rig ships the Deep Rock Galactic hardware on that will like crash into the planet. Not like while you're there, they could use the meteorite mechanic, but or you could walk into this like room filled with fiery remnants of like a ship, like shrapnel and that or scraps, and you have to kind of take it apart and salvage it for stuff to bring back to the rig. Like that could be as far as the pirates would go, really. But we'll get a pirate DLC cosmetic out of it.
I know,
so
it makes it worth it. But I can still imagine like scavenger type creatures that are relatively intelligent and aren't anthropomorphic.
I always think, goblins and that, if they were to ever do them, they're just to be really, really hunched to the point where like they're gorillas essentially, where they're like,
well,
technically,
or just do gorillas.
yeah, they could just add gorillas in space.
Oh god, there's a fucking song about Harambe that I listened to. He's a pirate gorilla.
Yeah, I can't believe people are still making songs about Harambe.
That was okay. It was late, but it wasn't like this year. Anyway, let's move on to the next thing.
Last thing?
Well, no.
Jesus Christ, this thing's fucking me.
The last thing in sort of like the news, though, really, which is the announcement we got on Thursday, for the Ghost Ship Publishing On the Horizon developer broadcast.
Mouthful, that.
What a ball filling title. It's just a fantastic combination of words just to see. On the Horizon, developer broadcast. Buzzwords that I like.
Oh Jesus Christ!
What the fuck?
I was sneezing and burping at the same time, and I was really scared I was gonna like sneeze out a burp and throw up.
You bezel snurped.
Yeah, it was rough. But
anyway, so on well, no, not next Thursday. Actually, the Thursday after next, on the 5th of October at 2 p.m. Central Eastern Time, which is 12 p.m. our time, which means I won't be there. Which is actually fine because even though I think this will be better than the anniversary stream, maybe like literally live streaming them ourselves is not the way forward anyway. But either way, Tyler's going to have some work to do. Hopefully, at least one thing. I mainly mean one thing. It's going to be whatever the actual news that is given on Deep Rock is. Because this is a Ghost Ship Publishing broadcast, and we're not going to just go. I'm not going to read the post off. I've already done that. We are going to go off of each individual point. Basically, how much we care about each individual point. First of all, fucking cool as shit that this is happening. Obviously, a live stream where it's basically like the anniversary live stream, but with some parts removed, with the nonsense removed. Is what it is, and they're just doing it at a different time of year.
I feel like I don't know. It's the publishing. It's kind of not meant to be about Deep Rock, right?
I kind of think, in a way, it is.
No, it's not. You keep forcing it. They know that most of everyone that's paying attention cares about Deep Rock, so they're going to put it on there. But they're basically using Deep Rock to lure people onto the live stream, where they will bamboozle them with other games, which one of them is likely going to be Deep Rock Survivor, which I assume is going to be the first section. Like, we're probably going to be getting updates on all the games they announced during the dev stream, right? That's pretty likely. I think Deep Rock Survivor is like very close to being out now. Like, I think it's like just on Steam, I think. But then there was the other ones. What do you know what they were?
Yeah, I know them all.
It was like
them all. There's only two others. Sorry, Spell Rogue and Dark Swarm, and unfortunately, don't care about Spell Rogue even slightly. Sorry, mainly because I genuinely don't think it looks good.
No one. I don't think anyone actually believes in that, because it essentially it's like two games everyone's already played combined. Like it's.
But like Dark Swarm is further off, seemingly a bit more original. It's like a top-down sci-fi horde shooter.
With the same coloured guys.
Same coloured guys. Yeah, probably going to get those costumes, armors in Deep Rock. It's going to be the first crossover.
That's an interesting idea. In that, there's nothing really stopping them from cameoing with the games they're publishing, really, is there? Like, there's no morals bending.
Moral oral.
In like collabing with a game that you essentially also own.
Well, no, they did. Well, that's not about morals. They said if Microsoft dropped $1 billion in their lap, then or was it $1 million?
It is $1 billion.
Damn. Anyway, yeah, and also something about revealing the next game picked up by Ghost Publishing, which is intriguing. They got another one under their belt. I mean, it could immediately be deflated if it doesn't look very good, but that is just inherently fascinating. Not to a huge degree, but
yeah, the Ghost Ship Publishing is a thing. Like, it's not just a fling; it's a thing. Like they're doubling down on it. It seems, at least, which they obviously would have, but it's good to know. And plus, there's a solid chance that it could have been a fan applied one. That when they announced all that stuff, they're basically like, hey, if you have a game and have the means to make one, apply.
I want them to maybe do another spin-off. No, well, kind of. Maybe not yet, but I want to see a spin-off in development that's actually they know is going to be on consoles. I was just thinking about what you would do. Like, do you know what tactics games are? Like, as a genre, a tactics game.
Like what? Where you have to like the floors are like spaces.
Yes, that is usually a thing. A tactics game is usually it is a form of strategy game, but it's like more so when you're in control of a much more limited selection of characters, usually like a squad. And they would obviously each character would have like lots of different abilities, but you would still be controlling multiple different people, just not like armies. You're not like building armies. And that to me sounds perfect for Deep Rock.
Well, I've been an advocate for an RPG Deep Rock game for like ever. Just like, I don't know. I really like RPGs, and if a Deep Rock got a version of that would be pretty sick. Where you just you build your team, which would essentially just be the four dwarfs.
So you want Mass Effect 2 Deep Rock edition?
No, because there's only 4 people. I want more like a normal RPG where you just get a collection of people and then you do stuff. Either that or I don't know. Point is, I don't expect it to be another spin-off Deep Rock game.
No, I'm not expecting that either.
I don't think they'll do that. Yeah, at least. I think they're probably they would, because that would just make it seem like the publishing is just a way of them making tons of spin-offs. If that's like if they've already got 4 and 2 of them are spin-offs, right?
Hey man,
that would look pretty bad.
Not a bad gig.
It's a bit cheap. It's a bit cheap.
On with the 2 new expansions for Deep Rock Galactic, the board game.
Yeah. Well, I think the thingy for that is that like if you get it, you get the expansions, but not the actual board game.
What?
The Deep Rock Galactic board game Patreon.
Kickstarter, not Patreon.
That's the one.
You dweeb. Yeah, I guess you could get it on its own. I assume you can't play on its own.
Actually, can't buy the board game, can you?
I don't know.
I think it was something that you needed to have gotten.
I don't know buggery fuck about the board game. And I don't care to. I will care if I can literally just... If I can, and I know that I can just drop however much money and just get it. Okay. But as far as I can tell, you can't really do that yet. And might not be able to at all. I think you have to pledge to the Kickstarter. And also, UK has been troublesome for them in terms of deliveries. Like, pretty specifically. So, yeah.
Classic UK.
Yep, classic UK. So, yeah, I'm not... Shut up. Bingus.
Oh.
Dingus. Yeah. Anyway, obviously the final point, and it's the only one we truly inherently care about. News about future plans for Deep Rock Galactic and what we've been up to at Ghost Ship Games. So obviously, I do agree with you, just automatically because you're right that it's not exclusive to Deep Rock at all. It's actually mostly not about Deep Rock specifically either. But it wouldn't be. I wouldn't expect them to do a live stream, the whole thing dedicated to that out of the blue. That would be ridiculous. But what I just want to sort of get across is what we expect that to entail. This part of it, and basically, my take is at least, but could easily stop here at basically the information that a roadmap would give us is sort of what I'm betting on. And I think that's a pretty safe bet as well.
Yeah, and I think the other side is interesting as well. Like what was it? It's like things that are going on at Ghost Ship, right? That was the other half. And that kind of feels like it's probably going to refer to the.
Well, it's just like future plans and what you've been up to. I'd say that's what they've been doing so far, and also what the plan is.
Yeah, I feel like the below deck thing's probably going to come up in that because I think they should talk about the below deck publicly. Like they really should. like you don't want it to be the dev streams where it just kind of goes under everyone's radar. Like they're actively communicating as much as they can, and no one fucking knows about it.
Yeah, it's honestly it's almost the kind of thing where I want to hear more from Soren about that. It feels a little bit more relevant to Soren than Mikkel. For anyone who doesn't know, for Soren as the CEO, obviously Mikkel is the CCO, but Mikkel's also the game director. He's much more of a creative force. So, in my opinion, this whole thing is a little bit more Soren oriented. The below decks thing, just a tad. I don't think that's really the right way to look at it, but what I'm saying is I'm slightly more interested to hear what he would say about it than Mikkel. Because honestly, it's the kind of thing that Mikkel's probably not involved with. I'm sure like Aaron would talk to Mikkel and like maybe try and get him to say something, but I don't know. I'd imagine it's probably a decision born out of both of them, but yeah, and so I think we'll get that. And I this is the thing. This is why this does interest me, even though I know it's not. Even though a majority of this stream isn't going to be about this, it's still the fact that I think this is going to finally answer, maybe not directly, but functionally, is going to answer what the actual fuck is going on with roadmaps as a thing. Because whether we get one, as in I don't think we're going to get one personally, I think we're just going to get the information that one would give us. That's what I think is going to happen. And if that is the case, then that would probably entail a different form of announcement for season 5. That would be its own thing, and that's what I want to see. If not, if it is just a roadmap, I at least want them to explain that, especially after what some of the guys said on stream about roadmaps. About how a little bit weird now, in that they're not really roadmaps. Yeah. Either way, this is something that's going to happen, so probably shouldn't dwell on it too much.
Forward to, at the very least. So it's always nice. Yeah.
Don't yawn.
I'm just tired of being dragged along, and I'm hoping for a street release. As Mikkel whispers into our ears near the end of that stream, doing the perk rework, and then we all shiver.
It's like what? So it's literally like right at the end, and he whispers it, and then it fades to black.
Yeah, and then the crowd goes wild, and life is good again. Deep Rock is good again.
Just get Mikkel talking. That's all you need to do.
That's obviously something they didn't say there, but I think it will come to expect. Because I feel like...
Well, it does say... Hold on. I mean, I don't think it's what you were talking about, but it does say Soren and Mikkel will be hosting the event. So just outline that.
And I feel like it's if they've only ever really done the developer stream, like the developer stream and the anniversary stream. Developer streams obviously just then play the game. It's it's what it is. But then you switch over to the anniversary streams, and it's a very kind of not a strict format as such, but that's clearly the way they do their streams. I feel like that will continue over to this one.
I feel like it will be Mikkel and Soren sitting in an office talking to you about new games and that and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, no. I do think presentation-wise, it's going to be done the same way.
Which I think means instinctually, whenever they kind of are done, but like they're not done yet, there's probably going to be a Q&A thrown in.
This is the thing that you're like kind of expecting for some reason.
I wouldn't say for some reason. I think that if they're sitting in the exact same way, doing the exact same things as they did during the anniversary stream, I feel like they will be kind of inherently pulled towards doing a Q&A.
All right. Look, they're gonna see. This is the thing about this is that next week is going to be. I think I said yesterday, basically deliberately dry, or at least very knowingly dry. But we are getting the schedule for the live stream, and so because what we were just discussing now is literally just bullet points, right? So the schedule will just be more elaborate, basically. And if there is going to be a Q&A, a planned one, that would be on there. I think if it's not on there and we get the stream happens and it's the chat is disabled, then we know there probably isn't a Q&A. But I don't. That's not something they would do anyway. I don't think. But
I don't know. I just think that unless it's like a really strict schedule, like they're spending like half an hour on each thing.
Well, it could be though. It could be more strict than the anniversary one. That wouldn't be like unreasonable.
Especially if it is only Soren and Mikkel. Like they only
no. It's not. Well, it's just we're hoping to have some special guests join too. Although I'd wager that's probably people from yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That would literally be people from loads. That might be literally someone from every other developer. I would say most likely probably the Survivor guys.
People they got on in the dev stream, right? Like the anniversary one rather.
Well, no, because I would say it might not be literally every one. I would say it's probably going to be the Survivor guys and probably some guys from the new game.
I guess whatever
and
they have
some guys
news
from
for,
Mood Publishing probably.
Right? Yeah, whoever's got news. Like if one of the games haven't really got anywhere, like the Dice one hasn't really gone anywhere, then they're probably not going to get them on. But anyone that has gone somewhere, and I'm pretty sure the Survivor one is, like it's probably gearing for launch, then yeah, they would probably be on there.
But yeah, I don't know. It's something to look forward to. Mark the calendars. They're already marked, I assume, given you did the video on it.
Mark,
people would have seen that. Mark,
Michael,
Camel,
Michael.
Yeah,
Michael.
I think. I guess we're not now, right? You said sorry.
What?
So all right, that's the news part of the podcast done.
Yeah.
Now to start the podcast.
No.
Get it? Because that's what it used to be.
This is hold on, because I had a little bit of a miscellaneous topic of sorts that I was going to bring up. Again, it's not like a non-news topic, but still based on goings on in the community. And I say that because it's not really going on anymore. Really, it has died off. Because I would say, okay, what we're talking about is a recent uptick in hatred for Rockbox. And I think that is actually an appropriate term. And I think that is, and the reason why I think it was short-lived, though, Tyler, because I think it was... I don't know if you agree. This was born out of that guy's video, pretty much, wasn't it?
Yeah. People being molding it stemmed from that. But I'd also say that it might have also died off because I've noticed an uptick in Stingtail hate. I think that's something I've caught on to.
Which is more, in my opinion, more justified than well, actually, no. Because the reason why I thought this was actually okay to talk about is because even though he talked about it, it was from that video that we really pinpointed why, and sort of a problem that I had, kind of, with a lot of the criticism that people started throwing around was that no one could really agree, really, or at least no one actually pinpointed what it is. As in, I think we figured it out, kind of. Even in the guy in that really long video, he mentioned this thing. I don't think anyone's really taken it properly. And that is the... What would you call it? The Rockpox... Because Rockpox spike is not a very... that's a bit of a confusing term. But it is correct. The infection spike that you get when you pop a Rockpox blister at close range. This is the source of the hatred. Genuinely.
Yeah, well, yes and no. Technically, yes.
Well,
also,
Tyler, what I mean is like
no.
it's probably the most damaging thing that they did.
People wouldn't care about being infected as much as that gives you if being infected wasn't actually injuring people in real life. If it wasn't actually giving people actual genuine wrist pain, like legitimate problems.
Mm-hmm.
Like obviously that they're the extreme profiles of the situation, but it is a fact that getting in and out or getting out of Rockpox is fucking annoying, and really annoying, and just too annoying. And it would be fine if it didn't occur all that often. But because of the stupid, fucking, shitty ass, lazy patch that they've left in for almost a year now, it occurs very often. Anytime you're near Rockpox, you're basically guaranteed to get Rockpox instantly, because of half-assed measure made in the past.
To be honest, I also think the fact that because obviously they pretty much all have ranged attacks, like the grunts and Praetorians included. So the fact that when you get hit by one of the grunts' attacks, the ranged one, that immediately goes over half the meter. I think they all just infect you a bit too much, which obviously is very operative to the identity of the Rockpox. Yes, but it's still the problem. It is the problem. The infection mechanic is a problem for a couple, for all of those reasons. And yeah, so and they had this weird take as well, about them keeping it that way in response to a suggestion for an accessibility feature. But was the suggestion basically to just completely override the need to shake out of it or something like that?
Well, yeah. Well, the suggestion was, I don't know, just making it easier, maybe only tapping one button or something like that. Just making it easier for people that are actually physically incapable, or it makes them genuinely uncomfortable to make that action, to give them an option. And they said, no, we can't do that because that would make it easier for everyone else, and then everyone else would use that button.
I'm pretty sure they at one point did use the words that it would remove the challenge.
Yeah.
Which is really a frustrating take, because it's just not a good challenge, unfortunately. It's not challenging for me to shake the left stick back and forth.
I think if you want a challenge, it's fairly simple. It's basically up, down, left, right. But not that. It's any order of that. Or left, left. Or something like that. Just 4 randomized things. And so you would do that. That's a challenge. That's a mini game.
So should it be a memory one, or should it be it comes up with the 4 directions and one's flashing and it will flash for a second at most, and you have to just push the stick in that direction?
It wouldn't be a memory one because you don't have that long.
It would be a one thing at a time. It would literally it would be 4 seconds at most, because it would be
it would basically be 4. It'd be 4 arrows just there. As soon as you get Rockpox, 4 arrows, and it'll be right arrow, up arrow, left arrow, and you go right, up, left.
All right, yeah,
and you're free. And that would be arguably more engaging. For controller, that would obviously be joystick or D-pad, preferably. And for laptops, that would be WASD or the arrows.
WASD?
Right?
Why the fuck would you say it like that?
What?
WASD? Do people say that?
WASD.
Yeah, WASD.
Yeah, I just shortened it to WASD. It's like saying WASD.
Okay, it's actually not bad. All right, fine.
No.
Just call me off guard. Just call.
Yeah. But basically, yeah.
Keyword,
And
keyword.
in that way, first of all, it's quicker. So even though people are getting infected a lot, they're not spending that much in downtime. So if you don't feel like patching this stupid fucking lazy bug, and I will not stop calling it lazy because that's what it was.
Stop hitting things.
It was. I'm making a point by slamming my hand on my desk. But yeah, if they don't feel like doing that, then at least when you're Rockbox, you spend less time in it. Second of all, it's actually then a mini game, and third of all, I don't know, just like I don't know, it's just you. I'm sorry,
Master of words.
you shouldn't defend this system as much as they are. Like, I'm sorry.
No, it's like this is one of the things where it's just bizarre to me, and this happens occasionally, right? There have been things like this before. I feel stupid because I can't actually recall specific examples, but some of the frustrations I've had before have been for this reason, where they've just been stubborn about something that doesn't feel justified for them to be stubborn about, basically.
Yeah, their logic is flawed. It simply is. Like when they literally they know that if they added a better option, or they would say easier, but everyone would say a better option, that everyone would take it, and that is true. But like but that means you should fix it, right? That means it's bad. Because think about it, when you could instantly summon a drop pod at the end of a mission, right? Did everyone do that?
No.
Quite a few people didn't. In fact, it was a minority of people that took that shortcut. I don't know why, because that was good content that they enjoyed engaging with, generally speaking, or they didn't want to take the shortcut. But you know what? If they added a accessibility feature that made getting out of Rockbox easier, be that by just pressing one button a lot, or just somehow making it like you just wait a couple seconds and it frees you automatically, right? Something like that. Everyone would pick that because the mechanic you have in game is shoddy. Right, that's the situation at hand there, right? It is that if it was good, people wouldn't want to skip it as much, and there is proof of that given some of the things that we've had going in the past, right? Like there was a reason why they changed the overclock grind. I think they noticed the amount of people using the glitch to get more overclocks justified the means of actually improving it.
Basically,
because so many people had an issue with it.
We need a bug.
Right?
Fix it.
Well,
and hold on. So you know that bug where you sort of become permanently infected? Does that actually stop you from getting infected?
Not that I ever get infected after it though. That's like the end of the rock.
That needs to be made official. If you manage to somehow wait it out, right? You stay alive for like, I don't know, like 20 seconds while rockboxed, then you become immortal to it. You become impervious to rockbox.
Like that is very annoying. But realistically, I mean, you kind of do build up a tolerance to things, right? Like, I guess not really parasites as much, but if you were to say it's more of a, I don't know, a bacterial infection or a virus or something, right? That's the source of its origins. Then you could build up a resistance.
Maybe like every time that you break out of being infected, it builds up like an immunity meter or something that gets like full off like 4 times or something. And that way you could actually take, like, you could get deliberately infected to build up an immunity or something.
I mean, I'm of the opinion that maybe you could. I think there's a lot of things they could do to fix it, but I think maybe you could outsource some people's issues with perks. Obviously, they're not going to do that yet, but like, I think with people having issues with things in the game, adding perks that helps people with them, while also them having done it to themselves to the amount they're willing to go, right? There is still work to be done to the Rockbox, and I think even they would probably agree in some areas, right?
Yeah, and obviously that should come in season 5 to some extent, right? The Rockbox repurposing that happened to the rivals.
The Rockbox toned down.
Yeah.
I think that they should fix anything they think needs fixing then. But I feel like they should still, and this works retroactively for the rivals as well. I think you should just add a perk that kind of makes it better for even the people that don't like it. So for the people that really can't stand that content, but they have to then engage with it because, I don't know, it's their mission or something, they have a perk they can put on that really mitigates the issue.
What would a rival one be for that, though?
I'm thinking like if a rival touches you, it like gives them a really strong electric shock. So basically, shockers would die on contact.
Shredders.
That's the ones. The patrol bolt, whenever it bonks into you, it'll take like a ton of damage or something, and like be electric and slow down. Something like that is where my thought goes. But the rock box one's a lot easier. Basically, you get rock boxed a lot harder. Like you're a lot more resistant. That's kind of the main thing. But something like that.
I would say actually, almost what's better is it going down quicker. Because both are good. I mean, but it's like, it not going down can make it much harder to escape. I know it sounds obvious. Like, I know it sounds really obvious. But I mean, even if you don't get it as much, if it still it's like never barely ever goes away. No. Although that could actually be an interesting trade-off thing. I still want perks with trade-offs to be introduced. Like, genuinely. Whereas like it could like be way harder to get infected, but maybe it just almost just doesn't go down. That could actually that could genuinely work.
It takes like 4 times as much rock pox, but it goes down like a quarter as fast or some bollocks. Like, or not at all until you actually get rock pox.
Or one where like I want to see a perk where you just like you have to like you can't actually get rid of it manually, but it doesn't actually stop you from moving and attacking.
Yeah. But that's basically what I'm thinking, is that like I think maybe that wouldn't be a bad shout moving forward, if some of the content that like just because the devs think the content is alright, like, and it's like that's fine. Like, they can say that fuck you, we think we did a good job here, and we don't really care what you say. But if like a vast majority of the player base, like this content irks me and I don't want to play.
I'm gonna quickly go on the Reddit and see how soon I can find something. Because like I said, this has died down a little bit, which doesn't actually mean anything inherently, right? People, they don't. The Reddit doesn't actually linger on one thing for like a ridiculous amount of time. Stuff does go away, even if it's still felt and agreed upon. So it probably would actually take a while, and I probably shouldn't waste my time doing this. Either way, if we take our minds back to the time when these complaints were happening, like 2 weeks ago, it was really intense. Like, it felt way worse than like the rivals like response, genuinely. And that's sort of a really worrying thing, almost.
Did it though? The rivals, basically within the first month of the rivals being added.
Okay, well, even if it's not worse, Tyler,
I'm not playing this fucking game anymore.
Okay, what I mean by that is that was happening though. At least that there were like a lot of people saying that it was really ruining things for them. It's just not good. It's not good.
No,
that was happening at all. And I don't really know what to glean from that. It apart from a sentiment that we have talked about before, is that it's just kind of probably very frustrating for them that their attempts at introducing like big new like factions of enemies have, for the most part, not gone down well compared to before. Certainly, comparatively not gone down well. Non-comparatively mixed still.
I think it's probably. I mean, I don't know what it is specifically, but I'm going to go with the first thing that goes to my head. In that they play it up too much. Ultimately, like, the rivals aren't that big a deal, really, because like.
No, hold on. Who plays it up too much?
Ghost Ship, right?
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
No one really gives a shit. No, it doesn't change anything that much by adding a new faction. Like, when they added the Nyaka faction, who gives a shit? Who gives a fucking shit? No one really. Not in the slightest. Like, and I don't know. It's kind of like that. I think it's like everyone's like, they're like, oh, rivals. Oh, this new faction that means something. And ultimately, it doesn't mean that much, except for now it does have meaning because they hyped it up so much, and it fucking sucks, or people don't like it. So they now, associate this new faction with being shit. Instead of it could have been this new enemy type or this new season, but now it's this new faction, and now they've done it again. They fumbled another faction. Somehow later, like, it was a slow burn hatred towards the Rockpox, because it added it and people were generally okay with the Rockpox. Now less so, and I would argue the rival thing actually got better. I think. I think people like Rivals more now than Rockbox, right? People hate Rockbox more.
Well,
than Rivals.
people like Rivals more now than they did. People dislike Rockbox now more than they did. Rockbox has gone down. Rivals have come up. That's what intrigues me. And what the fuck that means. Well, first of all, it's not out of a recent change, obviously. It's literally just because that guy brought it up again and suddenly everyone's like, yeah, I hate Rockbox. But it's still there. Still there.
Yeah, well, I think it stemmed. I think Rockbox at the brunt of it, but I think lingering that video re-sparked the initial hatred of the season, just generally. I think, with now more informed people in that they've had more time to experience all the shit they don't like, and I think that is. It's also now pushed onto the Stingtail. People are shitting on the Stingtail a fair amount, be it deserved.
Yes,
probably.
Actually, I certainly have come to realise this. Stingtail is a kind of a dickhead and an asshole and a bitch.
I think even more than anything, just make it so he can't pull you at a certain degrees, right?
Well,
is that too hard?
Maybe. But I personally think that the reason why the Stingtail is the way that it is because Ghost Ship wanted one of the enemies, those two, to be tanky, and it just ended up being the Stingtail. Because that's the problem with it. It is no excuse to be as tanky as it is. And that's a massive issue.
Well, it's just I don't know. I think they think that the weak points that they added are like available or something. Like they're like there. And technically, if we think about it, there was something that changed during the the beta testing phase that changed the weak point significantly. The armor got upgraded at it.
Yeah, that's what I meant though. That reinforced my point that they came to feel like they needed one of them to be tanky. They changed its armor to be heavy armor before launch. So they did that, and and I think that's a problem. I mean, the spreader is really it's pretty frail, like it really is. But the Stingtail would still be like noticeably more tanky, even if it didn't have heavy armor. Because its health, like 80% Praetorian, or whatever it was, that's quite a bit. I mean, I think still damaging the tail should done it first of all. I mean, obviously it makes it
point.
It does make it retract, but it should also stun it.
It should be a weak point. It's like, I don't know, like as soon as it's going to grab you, the tail glows and you hit it. It's like a breeder's mouth, essentially. Like, I don't know, that feels kind of obvious, right? I think everyone's kind of thought of that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What the fuck?
Just a cat toy.
Well, destroy it.
And they hate it.
Destroy it.
Two of them, which I didn't know we had two of them until I found another one. I'm like, wait, what the fuck?
End it.
But they, I don't know. They biffed a lot of things, and it took people too long to realise it, and now the patches are kind of done, and they're not going to balance it till season 5. Yeah,
and I mean, this is another reason why season 5 intrigues me. Fucking hell, bro, what are you doing? You tearing your walls apart?
Yeah, there's someone in there.
Is it me?
Hopefully.
Anyway,
you talk.
It's why season 5 intrigues me because I think the chances of them trying to make another faction are low, straight up low. Not gone, unfortunately. I wish we could know that it just isn't going to happen, but I do think it's incredibly low due to this response. Probably just due to them having done it for 2 years, and it not really working very well. That's a big one as well. Due to them really needing to put effort into other things, and all of that, and just the fact that it doesn't. They've shown, and it will continue actually to be the case in season 5 in an actual confirmed manner, that they can add, and they still have the capacity and will to add enemies that aren't from a new faction. The Glyphid Stalker is going to be in season 5, so there won't be a lack of new enemies. There could even be more just generic enemies added, and I'd be perfectly fine with that. Maybe actually, even then, because obviously we saw what happened when they added those two. It still had a bit of an effect. In some ways, a negative one. So even that's a little bit dangerous. I want to, but then again, season 5 only adds the Glyphid Stalker. It's going to feel pretty lonely, which I don't think is cause to force them to add more. That's still an interesting one. The additions of enemies and whether or not they should add any more for a long time. And frankly, they probably shouldn't. Unfortunately. Anyway, I think we have got to get to the letters. I'm going to pause briefly. Yeah?
Alright. Yeah, I don't want to move on, but just on the thing that last thing you said is, as much I would be down for them to not add an enemy to see how well that goes down, but that's definitely not happening season 5, right? That much is clear. The Stalker, so to see what it's like if they only had one, maybe. But they might also still add more.
I would like Glyphid Stalker plus something else, as in another like normal enemy, but not a Glyphid though. That's what I want.
The way my mind is like sitting at the moment is the Glyphid Stalker is going to be a biome specific enemy in whatever biome they're adding this next season. That's the way I see it. Because I'm still carrying over the fact that apparently the Stalker's going to be special, right? Like,
for what reason? What tells you that?
They said that.
When?
They said when they're adding the Stalker, it's going to be a little different or a little special, didn't they?
I don't think so. I don't think in a way that was any other way than probably them just meaning it's going to be its own thing. It's just going to be a unique enemy because they all are.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't think the Glyphid Stalker fits into the anything. I don't think we need the Glyphid Stalker in the general pool. I think it will do anything, and I think they knew that, which is why they barely added it.
When people thought like the theme of season 4 was going to be invisible enemies. That was bizarre, especially with the Glyphid Stalker having been cut from it.
Yeah, but
they could do it now. They could.
Yeah, well, that's my theory essentially, is that whatever this new biome is, it would have the Glyphid Stalker in whatever form it is in there, and it's going to be a bit of a spooky one.
Maybe,
as in, I really fucking want a spooky biome. Yeah.
Maybe it's maybe there's a difference between how the Stalker is in that biome compared to others. Like it could maybe they shouldn't limit a Glyphid to one biome, but it could still be stronger. It could be like it could be its home turf, and that could actually have an effect on it.
I don't first of all, it doesn't have to be a Glyphid.
The Stalker doesn't have to be a Glyphid. That's also true.
Yeah, like I think because they could easily redesign it. Like they still have yet to give it its design, right?
Well, as far as we know.
But yeah, what we saw was just acid spitter.
No, Tyler, frankly though, and this is the thing, it could be. There's a very, I'd say, chances are maybe not like that far over 50, but still at least a majority chance that it's just gonna be the Glyphid Stalker in a pretty generic way because they already had it, and I think they were just going to continue to develop it, sort of as it was, just trying to get right the original idea. Either that, or it's going to be like, and this is way like probably blown way out of proportion, but it does line up. If you go back to when they were developing the new mission types, they had 3 in development, and 1 got cut. And then they carried on with that and got really carried away. And it became industrial sabotage. And also, those 2 mission types they added, one of them became really disliked.
Yeah.
Parallels,
then
baby.
Again, though, the other one was beloved, and I would not say that's the case.
No, I know. But still.
Yeah,
what I'm saying is, I kind of like the idea of them getting carried away with the Stalker. If that's what it is going to be.
Well, once again, I swear I recall them saying it will come back special or better or something along those lines.
Well, I mean, it's already pretty well implemented. You can't see it, so
Yeah, well, I don't know.
anywhere it's not there.
I'm excited at least because there's something to be excited for, and hopefully it's Mikkel saying that they're doing the poetry work.
Mikkel whispering sweet nothings into my ear, like the fact that he doesn't like Lord of the Rings. What a fucking idiot!
Well, I actually realised
Might be a
something.
joke, but
I realised something like after I said all that. Or like this, like, the other, when I saw the thumbnail, I realised something. I also don't like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, but
like I just tweeted that.
Yeah, no, hold on. So, okay, you know what? Actually, I agree with you. What the fuck are you? Who are you? You're like,
Yeah.
I'm a fantasy guy. Don't like Lord of the Rings. Are you students? You remedial.
I've never really like I watched the first version after I watched the entirety of The Hobbit. So like the thing. So I was pretty fucking out of it, to be honest with you, and I was falling in and out of sleep, and so I don't remember basically any of it. And that's the most I've watched it. So really, I have not watched The Lord of the Rings. But also, I really don't want to. It doesn't look that appealing, like at all. It looks really fucking mopey.
Not though.
I don't know.
Like, that's not
like
true. It's a combination. Like it contrasts tones in a way that's actually very effective. So it's never too much of one thing, and that's how you get mopey shit to actually work and not come across as cringe and like annoying. Cringe. Oh no, cringe. Anyway, we need to, and it's gonna. Luckily, this is actually going to be very short this time. It's letters.
Barrel.
No, I was gonna call it correspondence from the keg crew.
I really don't want to lead into the keg crew name.
No, we clearly, it's like been around forever, but we've never lent into it, and I think that's gonna stay. Anyway, I've got some letters. This is gonna be a recurring thing, obviously, and I think we're gonna do it pretty much every time we do a podcast, and we're gonna cover basically pretty much everything, unless it's obvious that it shouldn't be like used as material from the previous miscellaneous video and podcast on the current one. In this case, we only have one comment from the dev Q&A video, but it's actually very relevant to what we were just discussing anyway. And it comes from our boy, user... Fucking hell, that's a... What the hell? User WH8WZ5VY9U. He writes in, I hate the rock stun so much because I get pain in my wrist from repetitive actions like that. Same issue with pressing the sprint button all the time. I mean, so that's a bit odd. Is that a thing for those people? Who have those sorts of issues? They get tripped up by the sprint button.
If they have to hold down shift all the time and then have their fingers do other things, I think that fucks with their hands,
hold on, I forgot about this. I have been using the sprint by default shift to walk mod on PC for about 700 hours now, and I can confidently say that there is no reason to ever walk in this game. Now, this is actually significant because he's got a toggle like auto sprint mod. They've said that it's never going to be a feature. They're against it for some reason. So I don't know what Goatship's deal is with I don't know what the ableism's about. I don't know what they No, seriously, that is weird. That's like a weird thing. Those two things both being things. Where it's like they don't want to make but they're different though, aren't they? Like auto sprint is much less of a mechanic. Or sprint is much less of a mechanic. Kind of.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter. Like you said, I don't think it matters like either way. I guess going faster everywhere is kind of handier. Like,
but you're doing it for free anyway. The only thing that manually sprinting does is force you to push your finger into the button. It's not like a skill. Really, like I think sometimes there's skill infused with sprinting, but
Well, it is just that there's no real good reason to walk. Like, there's just no good reason to walk, really. Like, you can just sprint everywhere and stop earlier, and you basically have gone the same distance as walking quicker. Like, yeah, I don't know. It is odd that they're so against that idea, but
And then, as he goes on, pretty much as they said, the dev's argument against an accessibility option is stupid, as Tyler pointed out, because people would choose fun over effectiveness in this game. There are so many gunners who have neurotoxin payload but don't run it because it's boring. As it turns out, people don't find it fun to spam 2 buttons repeatedly while you can't control your character. Yeah, it's obvious. It's just not fun. It's very simple, really.
Yeah. Which is why I'm really confused as to why they're dying on this hill.
Yeah, given how more often than not they do things for, well, yeah, they do pretty much everything out of the motive of fun, except for changes. It sometimes feels like a lot of the changes that they make aren't motivated by fun. Like, I actually think there's a fair number of like things that aren't additions but are changes that tend to affect this kind of thing. And like, for example, adding that rockbox thing, close range thing, is one of those changes. And I think I am very certain there are others. I mean, obviously removing the promotion bug was one, but then obviously they, you know, but
No.
you know,
Yeah, I know.
you know.
Yeah, I don't know. I do know, but I don't know. It's kind of one of those situations where wait for the dev stream, see if they do a Q&A and get Mickle's word on it, I think.
Yeah, well, for some reason, I think to be completely incapable of getting anything out of them. Like when I on the second most recent one, I think it was the Oktoberfest one, the first one, when it launched this time. I kept trying to ask if we could put paint jobs on the Lederhosen outfit. Actually, that would have been the week before Oktoberfest, and they just didn't answer. And do you know why? It's because they were scared of me.
Yeah.
Not because they just didn't get to it.
They basically always answer me whenever I ask questions.
Yeah. I think
it's as Barrel Vision. Is yours as Barrel Vision?
No.
No. Not sure if that does anything, because it's not like they point it out from Barrel Vision, but...
Yeah, but maybe that is why they answer. Because we're important.
No, we're not. That's one of the things where I kind of wish they didn't fucking respond, but they did when I asked them about the Trolls interview, and they were like, well, now we haven't watched that.
Yeah, but they were aware of it.
Yeah.
You don't have to watch it.
Point is, blah, de blah. Also, because I know it makes the most sense to do whatever other and last podcast comments. There are your Tuesday videos, which has garnered a bit of an argument. If you got comments, like you're on your comments thing, you can scroll down, or you can just click on your thingy.
Yeah, I still don't know where this feature is, even though I've used it before.
You're on the studio on the Chrome thing, right?
I always just look at it as my personal account.
Okay.
All right, okay, but no, I'm there. No, I'm in the studio. Comments.
And then it has all the comments. If you click on published.
Yep, it definitely does have all of them because it's taking a while. So, are you talking about the neurotoxin one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you decided to name it "Making Neurotoxin Not the Worst Grenade." Which, even though we agree with that, is a spicy thumbnail.
Oh yeah.
Some people had an issue with, but it's all delegated to one comment stream.
Yeah, we'll do this comment stream and that'll be it. From Velvet, who has a anime profile picture. So.
You fucking retarded.
What? Is it not?
No, it's a deer.
Yeah, it's an anime deer.
Alright.
Since when is neurotoxin grenade the worst? And then you said, if one grenade has to be the worst, we think neurotoxin is the best fit. Very diplomatic, I must say, because I would not have said that. I would have said, it just is. And then obviously the Scrambler, I love that name. The Scrambler 6354 jumps in, but says, "But Ripper exists." And then Duck from Helensk 2037. Sticky Grenade still exists. Scrambler comes back. I don't know, man. Sticky Grenade isn't that good, but at least it won't down the whole team. And then Duck says skill issue. So I don't know what that is. That's just like people. I guess that's an argument between two people about. One of them thinks Sticky Grenade is the worst. One of them thinks the Ripper is the worst grenade. And well, Sticky Grenade. Well, hold on. What's your position now on Gunner's worst grenade? Is it still Cluster Grenade for you? Was it Sticky?
Oh no, I think it was Sticky.
Okay.
I don't like the Cluster Grenade, but I don't think it's the worst.
No. And then Driller, though. As in...
That's difficult. Difficult because I don't value grenades anyway, really.
Well, no one really honestly, people don't really value grenades outside. Well, people value engineer and scouts
grenades.
Grenades.
Ones really of importance.
Engineer?
Yeah.
Yes. But I just mean
Fine.
I just mean outside of scout, it's dwindles. It starts to dwindle rapidly. The importance of grenades.
Because, like, engineer, like, I think we talked about like this exact thing a while ago, but I'll reiterate it now. Engineers' equipments are all about as equal as each other, like, and you need to kind of all use all of it about the same amount, so you're not like out of something really quickly in there, right? You need to really kind of balance your kit. Scout, his grenades are arguably one of, if not the most important part of the kit, probably tied with like his primary weapon. Like, it's like really up there.
Or the grappling hook.
Grappling hook, that too. But like his grenades and what grenades he's using is a very important part of his kit. But then when it comes to Gunner is definitely the least important. What grenade the Gunner is using matters incredibly little. Essentially, like he can probably deal with whatever.
Like, it doesn't matter from like a team composition perspective. Gunner does not change based on his grenade at all. The thing is that Driller does, and yet outside of the axe, the rest aren't really thought about at all.
Yeah, because if you use anything outside the axe, it's a change for the worse. that's the thing. You using neurotoxin, you are now blinding your team or dealing friendly fire to them. That's basically the only real ultimatum.
HE grenade, unless you're like playing with, well, even a scout can fulfill whatever Driller's going to use a HE grenade for. Like,
yeah, or your satchel, and it'll be bigger and better and easier.
Well, I mean, I usually use HE grenade. Well, not usually, but HE grenades often for like groups of Mactera. But then again, honestly, groups of Mactera are not hard to take down with genuinely any of Driller's primaries. I think people don't realise they're all good at it. Actually, like even the Sludge Pump, because the charge shot will probably hit every one of them, and that will probably kill them. Obviously, the issue there is disruption because it doesn't happen instantaneously. But then you still kind of have to get it to work. You have to cook it, you know. You still have to cook it, so you're not going to be doing it instantaneously with that either. So you know,
the Ripper is. It really is like.
It's why I like the Ripper, because the Ripper's kind of useless, but it also doesn't really have an equivalent either. It doesn't. Kind of sad, actually. It's kind of.
Yeah, I don't know. It is. I think useless is the right word, which doesn't mean you shouldn't ever use it, but it means that it's not like it's not useful.
Like even when it's powerful, it's not useful. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah,
and that's
like
not common enough.
If you
either.
had tons and tons of enemies in a line and you absolutely destroyed them with a Ripper, and you managed to not have it come back around and kill you or your teammates or anything like that, then congratulations. But had you just shot your cryo or flamethrower, or probably sludge pump as well, but slightly less so, just for a little bit, you would have killed all of them.
Well, I mean, the Ripper does both things, though. You know, you either throw it forward and it would just kill a thing in a line, or you throw it in a tunnel sideways and it will just kill everything that comes towards you. And sludge pump can kind of do that.
Sludge Bomb does, Flamethrower does. Cryo Cannon admittedly doesn't.
Well, the flamethrower does can do either. And then the cryo cannon. The cryo cannon's only like linear, and then the sludge pump's like only lingering. Kind of. And then the flamethrower is a bit of a hybrid.
Yeah.
Well, the flamethrower is always a hybrid. I mean, I know that the cryo cannon has the ice path, which that's one of those things, by the way, when it comes to weapon balancing that needs to be changed. Like, the cryo cannon needs something to do with that, in my opinion, or it just shouldn't exist. Like an overclock at least
doesn't exist. Because if it had
it actually makes hold on, because it actually makes Ice Storm usable. Like it's very useful with Ice Storm. I would not be saying it's good if that wasn't a thing.
I don't know. The grenades are rough, and I'm not sure. Mike isn't like balancing them, right? That's probably not. I'm not sure if his.
I don't know if he could if he wanted to. That's the thing.
Like I feel like the grenades is no one's jurisdiction. Like it's not until anyone fucking throws a fit about it that anything gets done about it. I think.
Yeah. Like for example, I reckon I don't. This thing we don't have the exact insight in how in the work pipeline of all of these things, but I reckon. Like the overclock changes made during the experimental branch of season 4, probably not run by Mikkel actually, but like the Sabata, that's probably more of an agreed upon thing by like everyone, or at the very least that was like Mikkel was like as the game director was like, this is what needs to be done in regards to balancing this season, and everyone agreed with that. And due to that fact, I think grenades are probably going to be ignored for a really long time until something comes up where a change clearly needs to be made.
Well, the thing is
you would really clear. Otherwise, they're just going to be abandoned.
They would have done that when they addressed grenades by adding new ones, but they just didn't.
Well, that's what I mean. That's another sign that something's kind of just not there with them with grenades. In that the only thing that changed then was literally just HE's getting a little. Well, that was pretty good, but that was it. And I don't think that should have been it either. Especially afterwards, in that the grenades that they added were not balanced after they were added, really, even though there's some pretty clear problems there.
I feel like with the grenades, they don't actually really see it as balancing. Like they don't see it as strength mattering in grenades, it feels. But like ultimately the grenades are just kind of fun. That's what they're there for. Because generally, grenades will always kill things, right? They're always strong enough to kill things, or do whatever they're supposed to do, if it's not to kill things.
Well, that's why scouts are the most important, though, because their function is kind of, well, it's just something else. It's just something.
Yeah. And so I think that's what it is.
It has to be conducive to that function.
I don't think they went into it with the idea of buffing HEs. I think they just went into the idea of making HEs usable and fun, right? Which I think they did a solid job of. It inadvertently made them, usable and stronger, but I don't think they had any intentions of balancing the grenades, and I don't think they ever have.
No, and honestly, not that bad. That's not a huge sticking point, really. I'm not going to lose sleep over it,
No. It's a bit of a shame. Because anytime you think about balancing the grenades, you're like, oh.
Yeah.
It's a terrible job.
Yeah. I'll do it.
And if you think about balancing the grenades, I will direct you towards Gunner, because he is a nice place to leave your mind.
You don't think... I think Scout's grenades are more balanced than like the consensus would indicate. Like the consensus is skewered in a way that I think is unfair to the other grenades. Still.
I think you should be careful, considering I don't think the discourse between the Boomerang has exactly stopped. It's just died down.
Boomerang gang, rise up! I mean, that's something that they said. When they said like, "Oh, we disagree that the Boomerang is weak." Like, yeah. Spaceship.
That's because I think the boomerang leans more into being, I think, first of all, useful and fun, and inherently being strong. Right? Like, it's not an overwhelming force of nature, unlike kind of cryo grenade.
So see, the thing is, I agree with that. Even though I value what the boomerang does more than the cryo grenade, for some reason.
Yeah.
Like I use the boomerang to hold Praetorians in place most of the time. The reason why I love the boomerang though is because it actually has a use in every single scenario. Actually, that's why I love it so much. I think even escort duty, enemies, just normal enemies, are good enough there, but even then, I think it would bounce between the rocks. That's something I always think about it in this kind of way. And then, like, what are the other kind of things where like have like very specific uses? I mean, maybe rockpox is not too potent, but stunning rockpox is pretty good. But then I think about missions like industrial sabotage. Yeah, it can't hit the caretaker, but none of them can. But what it can do is bounce between all of the appendages multiple times, doing a little bit of damage and electrocuting them so you can get damage bonuses. And like elimination, it's like, yeah, it doesn't really do any damage to the dreadnoughts, but it does a little bit. So the twins, like, it at least has like a clear use. Like twins, yep, it's just going to bounce between them both and get multiple hits on each. Hired guard, sentinels, perfect for them. Dreadnought, I'll throw it when the dreadnought spews out some swarmers, because then I'll throw it at the dreadnoughts and it will hit the dreadnought once, kill the swarmers, and you get another hit on the dreadnought, and it just feels nice. It's just like this has, even if it's not like doing a lot, the use is still obvious in every scenario.
Yeah, and one of its only like weaknesses is like not really even that much of one. Right? Like it's like the meme of like boomerang users when there are more than 8 enemies, and it has like Squidward shitting himself face. But I think it's important to think that like there's more than 8
when
enemies.
I'm in a being late competition and my opponent doesn't show up.
Yeah.
Got him. Got you. Come on, we're gonna wrap this up anyway, so we can get it out.
That one. Yeah. Basically, if there are more than 8 enemies, there is now 8 less enemies if you throw the grenade still, right? Even then, you could like disable a amount of the horde. Meanwhile, with the cryo grenade, if there are less than 8 enemies, you're never gonna throw that fucking grenade, are you?
Exactly. Exactly. Boomerang gang.
Yeah, and point is that Mike, you are an angel, and you took up an odd amount of this podcast, which I don't think either of us saw coming. So that works out.
It's not going to be as much as you think, because this was bloody long, and that's why.
Yeah. That's
why we're going to end it now. And I think that for a first go with this sort of new, slightly new direction, they probably are going to be shorter than this on average, but I think this still hopefully represents how it's going to go, because I think this was quite good.
Yeah, I mean,
on it, we were actually on it in a way that wasn't just like negative rambling, and that feels good.
And come next podcast, at least we're gonna have whatever the fuck they're covering on the stream, right? The next podcast will be after that.
Yeah, that's what the next one's going to be. So that's what I mean about sort of timing and how I think it's going to be pretty nice. Okay. Thanks for that.
What?
We're not allowed to sneeze, Tyler. We're not allowed to sneeze.
Anyway, my nose is getting more and more stuffed.
I don't know. I mean, I don't particularly feel like dwelling on anything. So I think we should just end it.
Yeah.
So
thank you for watching. See, I mean, I was gonna say, how do you like the new format, but you won't be able to tell yet.
Either way, in regards to the correspondence segment, like it doesn't matter what you have to say. I want any comments at all, like even questions. I don't mind questions. Just
questions, takes, thoughts, our thoughts, if you want to ask that, which I guess is questions, but
hot takes would be nice.
Hot takes is nice.
Yeah.
Maybe we could look for a thing.
Anyway, like, what was that? Hold on. What was that thing that we were going to do polls on? What weapon should get overhauled next? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know when we should do that.
Do that.
We could do that for the next podcast. Still, like even
Yeah,
on top of everything else.
Maybe we'll make that poll. Well, you can make that poll on the thingy. Maybe we'll make a Reddit one and comment down below if you're listening now. That's you right now. Comment down below what gun you think is the weakest or just needs the most like love. A bit of TLC. And why is probably going to be useful for us talking about it. I would be very handy.
Yeah. Although, unfortunately, putting this right at the end is...
It means only the most dedicated of fans will answer this question.
It just means we know that means not a lot of people are going to get right to this point. I know that, and that's fine. It's like... But... Whatever.
Well, there's a good chance that when people actually hear that part of this video, like the more halfway through mark, they might comment. Because I'm not sure. I don't comment on videos. I don't know when people take it upon themselves to comment.
Yeah,
some people clearly do it at the very fucking beginning, like immediately. Like they need to comment on the title and intro.
I really don't. Yeah, I really don't comment. I don't know who does. Or we do know who does. We know their names.
Yeah, well, we know where they live as well.
We don't actually have their addresses. Don't worry.
Yeah,
and if we did, I wouldn't want them.
Do you want a funny story? And by funny story, I mean quite bad. That's just happened and it's not relevant. And this will be the final note we'll leave off.
It's just happened.
I got an email from English teacher saying, "Hey, here's like the stuff we did in class. So like you could do that." And it turns out she was basically responding to a email from someone else who basically asked for it all, and so it like she sent that to all of us, but it showed like that she was responding to this person, and that was like a giant chain of emails where they were replying to each other, which goes all the way back to their enrollment, and they have their national insurance number just written down on an email that's now everyone in the class can see. Which is pretty spicy, and I've not really done anything about it. I looked at it and told anyone, but that's rough. that's rough, man.
Well, if you enjoyed that little anecdote,
thank you all for watching.
Weird. You're weird. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, please make sure to please make sure to like, subscribe. I guess. If you want to stay on top of everything to do with Deep Rock, then absolutely subscribe, and maybe even consider clicking my bell.
Yeah, and we are slowly approaching the 69th episode of the podcast.
What are we going to do for that?
I know what we're going to do, and it's going to be cool.
Well, you actually have an idea for that? Because I don't want to do anything for that.
I have something, but not inherently an idea of what we're going to talk about, but I have something. I was going to wait for another longer period of time, but I can't be asked, and 69's approaching. I think that works.
It's not approaching that fast anymore.
No, it would be probably in October now, wouldn't it? Near the end, if that. It'd probably be the Halloween one, realistically.
That'd be good.
It doesn't make sense.
I guess we would do a Halloween episode, but not necessarily just because of the event. I don't know.
It would cover the event.
I'm hoping maybe around that time there would be some more juice. So, yeah, it would still be factored in. But either way, okay, stop. We gotta stop.
All right.
And this actually had something to say. And this
well, I guess it was covered in news we were getting the thingy, but we should actually be looking towards a quarter for season 5 in the live stream coming up.
Yeah, hopefully the one that it's in, as in the one that the live stream is in, that being quarter 4.
Quarter 4 is the dream. Quarter 1 of next year is possible.
It's the cream. I think I'm going to say this, and this isn't optimistic, I know, right? But it's going to be early February latest. I think that's pretty safe. I think that's really safe.
Releasing it in December is awkward.
I know. That's why I wouldn't blame
It
them.
would be a bad time to
I'm
do
not
it.
gonna. If it just straight up is January, I'm not gonna be inherently upset. I am. We're gonna have things to say if that is the case about the fact that only one update came out this year and it was season 4. But I'm not inherently gonna have a problem with season 5 coming out in January.
Yeah. But if it is in December, it's going to have to be early December. So they have the rest of December to patch it, and then they go on their break for the Christmas holiday, and drop the Christmas event.
Oh, God, that would be so fucking. That's too good. Don't even say that. That's too good. Don't say that.
Oh,
all right.
What would that be? That would be like 6 months still, right?
If it was what's early December? So as in before mid-December, obviously.
Yeah. Give them. It'd be like.
And season 4 was mid-June, so it would be less than 6 months.
Right. So short then, and they went on a month break, so fat fucking chance, really.
Yeah. All right. We'll leave it there because we've already ended this multiple times, and I think we just need to end it. I'm gonna do 2:49:49.
Okay, is that really close?